So I did a little bit of a fucky-wucky with this game. I thought when we reached the credits, I thought that was the end of the game. Turns out there's more to that after the credits. Whoops! And so, your days growing up in the loving cradle of Sunset Bird came to an end. In the years that passed since graduation, you moved out of your childhood home and made your own way in the world. You lived alone, lived with a pet, lived with pets, lived with Cove and his fish, lived with Cove, his fish, and the pets you picked, lived with Cove, his fish, and the pets you picked. We're gonna have a lot of animals, so... And you worked at a fine company, had a business of your own, co-owned a business with Cove, had multiple ways of earning income, were still pursuing education. Education. Co-owned a business with Cove. In the music, art, fashion, writing, TV, movie, sporting, gaming, hospitality, health, education, STEM. Gaming. Because I am a Twitch streamer after all. Your family members went through the same kinds of leaps into independence. Liz and Lee both eventually earned degrees and started fantastic careers in new towns. Nice. But your moms and Cove's father still lived on the same street as they had for all those years before. It was comforting for you that there were some things that remained in the old neighborhood. And despite the ever-changing reality of your adult life, your friends were still your friends, though of course, things weren't exactly the same for them either. Very recently, Terry publicly came out as a man and switched the spelling of his name to use a Y instead of an I. Oh damn! Terry's trans! Let's go! He also confessed his love for Miranda, which he excitedly reciprocated. They moved in together recently in the city out past Sunset Bird. I knew it! I knew I had to ship him! I knew it! Let's go! Terry and Miranda are together! Hey yo! I'm so happy for them! Maybe this is why Terry was like freaking out during that one time with Miranda. It was probably because he was going through like dysphoria, like gender dysphoria, or he was just really nervous about spending the night with Miranda. Either way, I'm happy for him, and I'm glad things are going well for the both of them. Derek was as busy as always, but doing well. He always made an effort to keep in touch, and you even saw each other in person occasionally. Oh, that's good. Alright, at least some things didn't change with that. One person who did disappear into the shuffle of memories inside your mind was Baxter. After his vacation in Sunset Bird one year, he was just gone. No! I loved Baxter! Fuck! Well, good thing we didn't end up, dating him, I guess. That was a loss he felt. He had become someone you'd considered a friend during those days. And there's what became of the sad little boy you grew up with, Cove Holden. Your deep affection for him was something that continued to last unabated. I can't fucking read! Well, hopefully you would commit to each other even more someday. You didn't want your relationship to change for what it was. And the two of you got engaged. He was your fiance. I don't want to do fiance yet because I want him to actually propose to me. But hopefully you would commit to each other even more someday. He truly thrived in his continued efforts of cultivating, loving, and supporting relationships with his family and friends. You couldn't say his personality had changed exactly. Instead, it became more refined. Cove was a warm, inviting, considering man who took the lessons he learned over the years to treat the people around him with patience and understanding. When Cove eventually developed a picture of the future he wanted to have as an adult, it made perfect sense to you based on his interests. Cove got a 2-year degree. My boy! He worked with you in your shared business, naturally, and worked part-time at Orca, helping educate the public on ocean conservation and participating in shore restoration efforts. Nice! As an adult, Cove was also able to recognize and have been diagnosed that he was on the autism spectrum. Autistic Cove is canon, let's go! It was something that hadn't been noticed by his doctors as a child, but he was still the same Cove as he always was to you, and he was just glad to understand himself better. Hey yo, autism for autism couple, let's go! Hey yo! It thrilled you to see how happy and successful you'd grown up to be. On the whole, life continued its steady beat forward, and you all went with it down the path you chose. It was strange and wonderful. But no matter how old you got, how far you roamed, or how long you were away, the home you had in Sunset Bird still called you back eventually. The car rumbled down the highway. You had started to zone out when a truck in the left lane loudly zoomed past. Your driver didn't remark on it, but just like anything else this trip, you went back to staring out the window, letting the scenery pass you by. You did appreciate the spacious backseat of your ride. You hadn't known exactly when you would be coming in, so you had decided to use a ride app rather than ask your mom to pick you up. And it turned out to be a convenient choice. You look forward to surprising your parents at the door. You smiled at the thought of their faces lighting up. Luckily, this hadn't been that big of a trip for you. You lived close enough that the travel hadn't turned into a big production. However, that didn't make the occasional mundane. For once, your moms had decided to have a modest celebration dinner for their anniversary. Aww, how cute! Unlike when you were growing up and they preferred not to make a big deal out of it, this year, they were comfortable having a party. Well, yeah, because, like back then, gay marriage wasn't a big, thing. But now that they're, together and times are changing, they can actually celebrate it. I'm happy for my moms. As time went on, they had found being the center of attention easier to handle. You're happy to see it. With this going on, there is no way that either of you or Liz would miss your mom's anniversary. Both of you made plans to come back home for it. You didn't hear from Liz about her exact schedule, but you hadn't shared yours either. It reminds you of when you were kids and both knew to show up for dinner, but didn't keep each other in the loop for each other's pre-dinner plans. This was the same concept after all. Some things stayed the same, and yet it was definitely different from when you would see your sister every day, and knew sort of what she was doing anyways from osmosis. Today, you had no idea. Things were always changing. You mused on how at times it was hard to believe you didn't live with your parents anymore, and yet you also couldn't imagine going back and living as a kid under the rules. The rest of the drive flew by. Your silent driver provided the smooth ride. No sharp turns or hard stops jostled you out of your own head. Your thoughts turned from introspective to observant. The landscape passing by became more and more familiar. You frequently recognized the landmarks that dotted the area. A grin came to your face as you passed the now entering sign for Sunset Bird. Excitement built within you. You were really here. You were doing this. Your driver turned off on a street and you realized that their map program was taking you the way home that Mom preferred. You usually would have used the other side street to pass by the beach. In no time at all, your car had gone through the whole of town and pulled in front of your mom's condo. The car slowed to a stop and parked. With the buzz of the highway gone, you realized that you could hear the familiar sounds of waves. The air smelled like salt and a rush of childhood memories flooded back. You started to gather your things and humming to yourself once more and about how happy your moms would be to see you. After that, you'd notify everyone else that you'd made the trip safely. You pulled over your suitcase from the other seat and yanked at your bag from down near your feet. Tap tap. You startled at the sudden sound of tapping on glass. It caused you to pause. Did you really hear what you thought you did? You weren't entirely sure because you soon heard something else. The window on the opposite side of the car rolling down. It confused you until you put it together that despite the driver's silence, you weren't actually alone in this car. The driver must have pressed the button. Someone had to be there. You turned your head to face the now open window. Guys, it's him! It's my boy! My boy Cove! Look at him! He's so handsome! Ah, my boy! I love him so much! Look at him, he's so handsome! And look, I gave him a sleeve tattoo because he loves the ocean and he has that button-up shirt just like his dad and his hair's in that man bun. Oh! I'm about to bust, y'all! I'm about to bust! There he was, leaning his arms across the window, your beloved Cove Holden. He beamed at you with one of his precious open smiles. Hey, Yui. What a surprise this is. I didn't expect to see you in this neighborhood. He was joking, of course. Seeing your expression, he decided to push it further. It's not like I've been waiting for you out here all morning or anything. Cove, I've been the one waiting to see you. I'm sorry to keep you waiting. You survived. You screamed excitedly. You stared stunned. You survived. Cove burst out laughing at your delivery. It wasn't easy. He then gripped the top of the car door and pushed half of his torso through the opening. That was enough to make the driver break their silence with a sharp, "Hey!" Cove did not seem to notice and continued climbing in through the window. He pushed one hand into the middle seat to prop his dangling body up. He used his other hand to caress your cheek as he leaned in as close as he could. Cove, we're gonna make out in front of the Uber driver? On God? For real? Okay, well, we better tip him extra then, I guess. I've missed you. You scooched across the seats and kissed him on the lips. You leaned over and kissed him on the forehead. You covered his hands with yours. You flicked his nose. You did your best to hug him without knocking him down. You grinned at him. I'm really shy with PDA, so I'm just gonna cover his hands with mine. Your position didn't quite allow you to hold his hand, but you enjoyed the touch all the same. You saw his arm wobble and wondered if he'd had an accident and had dive onto your bag. I miss you too. I love you. Okay, now get out of the window, you crazy person. You're so cute. I really should have expected this. You and your windows. You sighed happily. I really should have expected this. You and your windows. I promise this was unplanned. I know, still doesn't make a difference. Cove's smile turned awkward as his arm started to bend lower, causing his body to slide downwards with it. He turned his head to the driver.
Sorry.
I'm always causing trouble in the neighborhood. Cove shifted around some more and squirmed back the way he came. After he had successfully pushed out of the window and landed on the pavement with a thumb, you opened your car door. You threaded your arms through the various straps of your bags and climbed out. Cove took a few strides around the back of the car and quickly met you on your side. Cove stood in front of you, and it struck you that the two of you were back in Sunset Bird, reunited once again on this street. Aww, some things never change. You jumped into his arms, you gave him a friendly punch, you ruffled his hair, you held your hand out for a high five, you held your hand out for a fist bump, you waved shyly at him. I jumped into his arms! But you put down your luggage first, and you were still holding your bags. Bags can wait. You dropped your bags on the paved road and got a bounding start to leap into Cove. He caught you, unsurprised at your action. When you were situated, he leaned back on the balls of his heels and fully lifted you off the ground. His goofy grin let you know just how much he was enjoying your enthusiastic embrace. You didn't have a problem holding you up. His especially large height allowed him to lift you well off the ground. With one last swing, he let you back down. You were really ecstatic to be around him again, and absolutely thrilled that it was here in this town where you were together. Even if it had only been a short time since you had seen him off, you still missed Cove greatly. It somehow felt a lot longer. Wow. Heterosexuals, am I right? Given your different schedules and travel availabilities, it had worked out better for Cove to head out to Sunset Bird first. You only arrived the evening before, however, and secured the hotel room. Until now, you'd never had to deal with that inconvenience of being in a tourist-heavy area. It was a fight to get a place to stay close by during the heat of the summer vacation season. Living without him at your place was strange. Cove was basically part of you at this point. You're glad to feel whole again. Oh, you idly shifted your luggage, and it struck you that you were one short. You got out in such a hurry, it was left behind. You reached back into the car to pull it out. Cove stood aside as you made a dash for the door. You shouldered the small bag and felt relieved that you would be able to brush your teeth tonight. Got everything this time? You stood up straight, everything truly gathered up out of the car. You gave the backseat one last glance and then nodded. Cove shut the car door after you had moved out of the way. The two of you stepped out of the street to give the driver some room. Cove waved. Sorry again. The driver said nothing and drove off. With the road clear, you let your gaze drift across the neighborhood that he had known forever. It was such a small place to spend so many days. You were flooded with memories of going up and down the street during every stage of your life. Being a little kid, following your big sister to the playground, becoming a teen, staying out later, and growing into an adult who left their parents' house behind to be independent. You could feel the summer sun on your skin from all the times you headed out to the beach. You saw the same surroundings that you as a young adult did when leaving home. It was hard to quantify the amount of history you had here. And now you're back. Despite taking in the neighborhood again, you never lost awareness of Cove's presence. From the corner of your eye, seeing him there was a very familiar sight as well. So many of your memories included him. Your mind drifted from the neighborhood itself to the person who used to live there. You couldn't help the feeling of nostalgia. You still remembered his face, his voice, the scar on his arm from the days long gone. He had changed so much since you had first met him. Yet, even with those changes, he was always recognizable. He was familiar like the sky was, in the way that you knew the sea. Every day they may appear different, but they're still an inextricable part of life. I can't fucking read! It was a world with help from Mr. Holden and his ill-thought $20 bill that brought you together to begin with. The two of you had chosen each other. You had never let your interactions fade. You had decided to nurture your relationship into what it was. And you would continue to keep Cove close into all the rest of your adult years. Cove was the partner you wanted for life. You couldn't be more grateful to call him your boyfriend. It would be impossible to imagine life without him. Cove noticed you're staring at him after a while and smiled with his eyebrows rising in curiosity. He was very transparent in his question if there was something you wanted to say. You shook your head and returned him a soft expression. You let yourself get carried away in a tide of memories, but now it was time to focus on the present. Ready to go see my mom's? Cove nodded and then pointed at all your luggage bundled around your legs. Can I help with any of that? Yeah, thank you. You can help with all of it. No, it's like carrying in all my groceries in one go. No, the house is literally right there. No, you dropped them. Yeah, thank you. You gracefully passed him a bag. It was a lot easier to balance everything with that out of the way. You used both hands to take a hold of the one piece of luggage and stood tall, pleased to be able to provide his assistance. The bag situation resolved, and the two of you strolled over to the Neon Posse residence's door. You started to pat your pockets instinctively, only to realize that you no longer carried a key to the house. Your eyes scanned the entryway, a little lost only just by the doorbell. The thought of having to ring it felt super weird. As you pressed the inconveniently placed doorbell on the side wall, You remembered that no matter how much this place would have always be a home to you, it wasn't where you lived. Being back here was like putting on a uniform after you quit the store where it came from. It had remained the same, but your circumstance had changed. Ko shifted on his feet awkwardly, obviously also thrown about you being stuck out here keyless. You heard muffled voices and shuffling around from inside. Your heartbeat sped up in anticipation. The door swung open and there was your mom's smiling face. She immediately brightened at seeing you standing there. Well, well, well. Mom! Aww! She's so old, but that's normal because we're all old. Mom twisted her head back and gave a shout down the hall. Lottie, guess who's here? There were more distant noises, no doubt. Ma getting up from wherever she was to come see. Her high-spirited words rang out clearly. I hope it's one of my children! Ko flushed as it, suddenly realizing that he was going to be present for your mom's enthusiastic welcoming of you. You smiled to reassure him that he wasn't intruding. Ma finally reached the door and peered over Mom's shoulder. It is! Hello, Yui! Aww! Mom! Aww, she's so pretty! Aww, I miss my moms. She gave you a once-over, patting the top of your shoulders and moving down the sides of your arms before she nodded in satisfaction that you are in one piece.
How sweet.
This is a wonderful surprise. Ma inclined her head to Cove next, not leaving him out either. Hello, sweetie. You count as one of my kids at this point anyways. I have doubled the surprise today.
Yeah.
You snorted at your mom's greetings. They never changed. Cove bashfully waved at them. He hadn't relaxed fully, but he had settled down at their welcome. Don't just stand there, come on in! Your mom moved aside and held the door open for you, gesturing for you to enter. You stepped into the living room. It was comfortable and cool. Cove was a half step behind you, his eyes on a new painting your mom must have added since the last time you were here. Things were mostly the same, but there were more decorations since you had last seen the house. Mom may have gotten the urge for some interior designing again. It struck you how odd it was to be the guest, only observing their choices for the living space here rather than a full-time occupant. Ma came up in front of you, excitement in her eyes. I'm so glad you're here.
That's fine.
You know your mom and I would have been happy to pick you up, but you're self-sufficient and responsible. That's okay. What matters is that you arrived safely. Mom appeared at her side with a nod. Welcome back, kiddos. You appreciated that your parents respected you as an adult, even if Mom still called you kiddo. You figured long ago that you'd always be her kiddo no matter how grown you became. It was part of the whole parent-child deal with her. I mean, I still call my little sister kiddo, even though she's gonna be 16 next year. So, yeah. I think I'm always gonna be calling her kiddo. Oh, she's growing up so fast. She's in high school now, which is insane. You hugged your moms, you grinned, you took your mom's hands, you gave them a thumbs up. I'm gonna hug my moms, of course! You took another step forward and pulled Mom into a great big hug, squeezing them tight. Their arms wrapped around you in return, and you could feel their love for you in their embrace. I'm happy to be here. I missed you both. It's so great to see you. I wanted to surprise you. I thought you deserved a little break after everything I put you through. You enjoyed the moment. I missed you both. We missed you too, Yui. It's always nice when I'm able to come by. Your mom's giggled pleased. I hope you've both been doing well. Is everything set up for your anniversary dinner?
No problem.
Wrap it up if there's something we can do. We've been plenty fine. It's been a little quiet, but that's not a bad thing. Mom placed her arm around Ma's shoulder and gave her a side hug.
Don't worry about it.
We're just planning to eat at the Cypress, nothing fancy, which is kind of a funny thing to say about a pretty fancy country club. The biggest issue has just been making sure everyone could make it for the day. Speaking of which, Liz will be arriving tonight. We're planning on picking her up later. I guess Liz isn't as grown up as Yui. Mom snickered at her own joke and Ma lightly elbowed her with a barely hidden grin.
Shush.
As I was saying, we could drop you off wherever you're staying if you don't mind waiting for that. I'm sorry there's no space for you in the house. It's gotten crowded in these old rooms since you and Liz moved out. I don't know where all this stuff keeps coming from. Sure you don't, Pamela. It's okay. Cove already has a hotel room. I'm gonna be staying in anyway. Cove sent you some pictures of the place where he arrived. Stylish and roomy. It seems very nice. It was a double room. It was a room with a single king bed. No, single king bed. We're staying in the same bed. You claimed that the bed was comfortable, so you had high hopes about that. Though, mostly you were looking forward to having him next to you as you slept once again. Your mom smiled, relieved. Kyra's already here, isn't she? Kyra! Let's see Kyra! She directed her question at Cove. He bobbed his head at it a bit ago to go along with his reply. Yeah, I heard she made it. She's gonna be staying with Dad while she's in town.
Oh.
Have you gone over and said hello yet? Cove chuckled self-consciously, and this time he shook his head. You raised an eyebrow since you had figured he would have taken the chance while waiting for you. Not yet. I should go do that now. I just want Yui to be there too. You caught your eyes with an adoring smile. Mom laughed at that, no doubt thinking that Cove was sweet but ridiculous. Hey! That's my husband! Well, not yet husband, that's my sweet boyfriend for you.
How nice.
It's nice to know your priorities. Yeah. Cove awkwardly rubbed his arm and shifted on his feet, looking all too much like he did as a kid.
So?
Do you want to go over to my house now? That's a good idea. We won't be leaving until late evening. You heard, Ma. Let's go see your parents. Cove perked back up, excited once more. We'll keep an eye on your things while you're out. There's no reason to be carrying all that around. You set down your bags in the living room, tucked into a corner where they wouldn't be in the way. Cove helped. Your mom's waved the two of you off as you walked back to the entranceway. Thanks. See you soon. He waved back and opened the front door for Cove. With that, you're on your way to see Cove's family next. This trip put a little special pep in Cove's steps as you crossed the street to his dad's house together. Your spirits were equally high. Doing this, you feel like a teen again. You had known Cove's parents for a long time now. When it came to what you called his dad, you still stuck with the familiar classic, Mr. Holden. You switched back to saying Cove's dad. You were on a first-name basis with Cliff. First-name basis! Although it was awkward on your tongue at first, it rolled off comfortably now. You appreciated how much he saw you as an adult and friend, and not just a kid from across the street. For his mom, you were still on a first-name basis with Kyra. You called her Mom 3 in a non-serious way. Mom 3! The playful grin was already settling up on your face, and you hadn't even gotten there yet. It was always fun to hang out with her. Cove hopped up to the front door and didn't bother knocking. He twisted the knob and it swung open. With a grin, Cove gave you a gratified thumbs up. You shook your head in disapproval. You both knew that you hypocritically supported his behavior. Your dad is lucky we aren't criminals. He brushed your comment aside and went right into his old home. Cliff was there, standing in his kitchen and babysitting a pan on the stove. Him! He still looks young! He still looks so young! My god! How does he do it? I mean, to be fair, I know he had, Cove at, his, 20s, so it's understandable that he still looks young, but goddamn! Cliff Holden! I'm about to bust. His head turned at the sound of footsteps, and he brightened instantly at the sight of you both. Cove matched his enthusiasm instantly. If it was anyone else, you wouldn't have thought he was lighting up with a childlike joy over seeing his dad again. But since you knew what Cove was actually like as a kid, you're aware that his level of happiness with Cliff was definitely not equivalent to any childhood feelings of this. Dad! Cove! Cliff gracefully pushed what he was cooking to a different burner and flipped off the heat. You roughed over to you both. Cove flew forward and met him halfway in a hug. Cove squished his eyes shut and held his dad in a tight hug. Cliff soothingly rubbed his son's back. The more of an adult Cove became, the more he turned into a big daddy's boy, it seemed. I'm a daddy's girl myself, you know what I'm saying. I missed you. I missed you too. It was sweet, and teasing aside, it was wonderful to see them at this place in their relationship after years of struggling to connect. When the hug broke, Cliff hooked an arm around his son's neck. He let out a deep laugh. I still can't believe he outgrew me. I really thought I had that on him after he graduated from high school, but then he had to keep going. Chuckling, he shook his fist in mock anger. Cove ducked his head and laughed in kind. Sorry, Dad. Cove's cheek turned pink, and he averted his eyes. He was becoming bashful, so he knew he had more he wanted to say. Cove softly added, But I was raised really well. His dad's expression instantly crumbled with emotion. He sniffled. Cove put an arm around him too and tugged him into a side hug. He observed their little reunion fondly, happy to let them enjoy their moment. They were a perfect pair of sentimentality. Cliff eventually turned his attention to you.
Hey.
Hi, Yui. So great to see you. He pulled away from Cove and approached you with a little wave. He was back to his cheery self. Hi, Cliff. Cliff, it's so nice seeing you. I missed you, Cliff. You didn't say anything. I missed you, Cliff. You waved, you offered him a high five, you gave his arm a pat, you hugged him, he smiled. Hug! Within seconds, you had your arms wrapped around his middle, and Cliff hugged you back just as tightly. There was a quiet sniffle. You breathed a sigh of relief, happy to be home. I missed you too. It never feels right around here if I'm not seeing you both running back and forth across this neighborhood. Cliff cleared his throat, pulling attention to himself. He crossed his arms. Before we get too carried away, it's not a real reunion yet. Kyra's still in the guest suite. I'll go get her. He eagerly bolted down the hall, and you could hear every step he took. It ended with a distant knock. Kyra, they're here! It was only seconds before there was the sound of a door being yanked open. The pounding of feet hitting the wood floor grew even louder this time.
My baby.
My mommy! Oh my god, she is gorgeous as always. Kyra, my beloved. Mom number 3, my beloved. Next to you, Cove let out a nervous laugh. His parents entering the living room, and Kyra stretched her arms out wide when she spotted you both. Cove went to her easily. You went in for that hug too. You opened your arms up for a big hug. You raised your arms to pass. You shook your head no. Big hug! She held you both tightly in her arms, and you squeezed her back with nearly the same intensity. You felt loved. Cove wrapped his free arm around her too. He rested his head on top of hers and let out a happy sigh. After a moment, Kyra let go and pulled back to get a better look at your faces. She surveyed every inch of them and appeared satisfied. You're both looking well. That's wonderful, and just what I like to see.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thanks, Mom 3. You look great too, Mom 3. Welcome back, Mom 3. I missed you, Mom 3. You didn't say anything. You look great too, Mom 3. One day, I'll let you in on my secrets. Kyra winked and you had zero doubts that she held precious knowledge to looking your best. She was stunning every time you saw her. I'd be honored. So what's new? How have you both been? Kyra gave a nod for Cliff to go first. Cheerfully, he waved a hand.
No worries.
Oh, same old, same old. Still got the shop, still got my friends and family, of course, and still the most exciting thing around here is seeing who will rent that one free condo. Incredible. I always knew you were such a snore. They snickered and you couldn't help but peek at Cove. He rolled his eyes dramatically, drawing out a few giggles from you, but the whole time there was still a happy smile fixed on his face.
Wow.
For me, things have been good. I've gotten a lot of interesting assignments lately. Oh, I recently went to Seattle and... Kyra twirled a strand of her hair shyly and her mouth curved into a grin. Whatever she was thinking about, it made her happy. Things have been going well with that guy from work, but it's a little early to bring him all the way out to California to meet the family. Aww! Kyra's got a boyfriend. Kyra's got a boyfriend. Cove's gonna get a stepdad. Cove crossed his arms. He and his dad nodded. It was clear that she appreciated the acceptance from her two boys. That's great. I'm really happy for you. I hope he gets the seal of approval when he does come around. You silently nodded as well. I hope he gets the seal of approval. He added a thumbs up to keep things light. Her smile wide and grateful for your gesture. So that's us. Do you two have plans for your first day back? The only thing I have to do is pick up Liz later tonight before we head back to our hotel room. Great. He suddenly looked over his shoulder. His eyebrows pushed together. I'm glad you're here, but I just remembered that I was in the middle of cooking something. Only a small cackle escaped you while you fought off the giant grin taking over your face. Meanwhile, Cove erupted into laughter that had his dad shaking his head. That's fine, Dad. Go salvage what you can. I think it'd be nice to explore the old neighborhood for a while anyway, since we've got the time. Cove directed the last part to you as he spoke, hoping that you'd want to go with him. You nodded automatically. You were already looking forward to it. Oh, I hope we get to see Terry and Miranda! That's a perfect idea.
Makes sense.
I think so too. You should go enjoy the day. I'll hang back here so I won't be a third wheel, and someone's got to keep an eye on Cliff before he catches the whole kitchen on fire. Mom, you're not a third wheel. Cove stiffly stuck his arm against his side like a little child. A small smirk tugged at Kyra's lips. She winked. You know what I mean. Have a good walk. I'll see you both later. Cheerily, Cliff waited before going back to his cooking. Cove smiled warmly.
Bye.
Bye, we'll see you soon. Satisfied, Cove gave you a bent smile and dropped down low to the ground. You knew this was your chance to add a piggyback ride. Cove silently waited for your answer. Excitement bubbled up in your chest. Cove always knew how to make your day even better. You always know just the right thing to do. Cove hummed in the agreement while you climbed up onto his back. When you both had a secure grip, he stood up. The movement bounced you once more than usual. Chuckling into Cove's hair, you were pleased to enjoy another afternoon of your favorite mode of transportation. Under your hand, you could feel the vibrations of laughter in Cove's chest. Let's go! Naturally, you found yourself heading down the road toward the beach. Your spirits rose even higher as you strode across the sand, heading for the shopping district. Arriving, you whirled past tourists who were taking in the sight for the very first time. Being a local was a badge of honor you wore proudly. You casually walked past the shops. Over the years, some had closed down, but many of the stalls were still exactly the same as they were when you were little. There was something he planned on saying, but the look on Cove's face made you pause. You watched incredulously as Cove's attention laser focused on something in his peripheral. As the two of you went down to the stone street, his gaze stayed parallel with what might have been a stationary object. Then, when his head couldn't turn any further, he stopped in place entirely. You were brought to a halt as well since you were still on his back. Sticking your head out to the side, you were finally able to see that the subject of note that captured his attention was a pretzel stand. Just like when we were kids, aww. After a moment of silence, his puppy dog eyes swung back to your face. With a cheesy faux wistfulness, Cole whispered a few small words. That could have been us. Oh, wait, yeah! When we talked about when we were, we wanted to make a pretzel stand. We wanted to sell a pretzel stand. That's right. Ah, this fucking dork. Yeah, it's a shame, but we might have been. No, Cove. It's not too late. We can still start our own pretzel stand. Stop trying to make me sell pretzels. You are so precious, Cove Holden. You can only laugh. Stop trying to make me sell pretzels. He sighed dramatically, as if you were bursting his dreams even more harshly than how his balloon popped the first time you came here together. Fine. Good. But seriously, let's get going. But seriously, did you actually want to go get a pretzel? I want a pretzel! Yes, I do! The one that comes with the little frosting cup? That's right. You shared a fond smile with one another. It held a level of second nature comfort that really didn't exist anywhere outside the almost lifelong relationship between you and your former neighbor. Somehow, all you ever had to do was simply be together in the same place, and it was special. Cove showed you how strongly he felt the same when he started to become visibly bashful. He plucked up enough nerves to keep the conversation going, though. So hey, do you think they'd give me more than one of the frosting cups if I asked? I don't know, Cove. We'll have to find out. With that, you changed course to the pretzel stand for a snack break. Cove was very pleased by the morsel he picked up, and that was good to see. The sun arched across the sky as you went up and down the road as a pair. By the time you returned to the beach, day was already beginning to fade into night. Cove kicked his shoes off, tossing them into the sand. He wanted to get his feet wet in the waves as fast as possible. You joined him. In seconds, you had your feet free, and your shoes abandoned the sand. You kept going until you were ankle deep in the water. Cove sighed contentedly. He followed his line of sight into the setting sun, painting the sky with hues of orange and pink. It really feels like summer now. He wore a bent smile when he turned to you. The light illuminated like a halo behind him, and the sight took your breath away. In fact, it's hard to think of anything that feels more perfectly summer than moments exactly like this, being here at sunset and Sunset Bird with you. I'm so glad we're able to come visit. I do like our living situation now over just being neighbors, but still. You hummed in agreement. Your heart fluttered the moment you met Cove's eyes. Your mouth lifted into a pleased smile. I'm happy too. Of course we'd have ended up like this sooner or later. This is a wonderful day. I guess it's not so bad to bring back, in the old neighborhood. You didn't have to say anything. This one. With a snort, Cove glanced up, meeting your eyes with a knowing stare. You put the inside of your cheek to prevent a laugh from escaping. I've missed it. Cove murmured quietly, losing himself in his thoughts again. Shortly after, you saw his hand shoot down into the sand. He stood straight back up with a lopsided smile and got to work brushing the sand off his prize. He knew without a single word, Cove found a new shell for your collection. As you wandered down the beach, Cove followed at your side in comfortable silence. Your shadows stretched across the sand like they were leading the way. The only noise that you could hear were the soft footfalls of your feet and the waves gently rocking in the shore. For a moment in time, it felt like there were only the two of you in your own little world. Eventually, the bubble popped when you realized that your phone was going off. It was Ma, hoping that you were going to be back soon. Curious, Cove's eyes slid down to your phone. You let your hand fall back to your side. You held the phone pressed against the palm of your hand. It's Ma. She wants to know when we'll be there. Cove scratched the back of his neck and shook his head. His mouth twitched like he just had a funny thought. Dang, parent. Always trying to make us come home before it gets too dark. He laughed. There's no escape from a curfew as long as we're in this neighborhood. Parents such a pain. It sucks that we have to leave already. Don't act like a little kid. You shrugged. There's no escape from curfew as long as we're in this neighborhood. It's like we warped back into being little kids at the moment we set foot in the entrance sign. Cove's nose crinkled in fake disgust, and you both burst into a fit of giggles. It'd be nice not having to worry about bills again. Sometimes. After one last glance, you put your phone away again. Cove gave a small shrug. Ready? Yep. Let's go. Together you left the beach, feeling the call of home pulling you forward. The both of you ran off toward your mom's house, leaving the waves behind but welcoming the beginning of summer. Cove and you ran up from the beach, sand flying from your steps. Cove made it to the road first, but you managed to catch up to him. By the time you reached the house, it wasn't exactly a race, and yet it also wasn't not a competition. Both of you were laughing by the time you bumbled through your old front door together. You inhaled deeply and shouted loud enough to be heard anywhere in the house. We're here! Your moms were seated in the living room. Your eyes sparkled as he locked on you in your light dusting of sand.
Hello.
Welcome home! Mom leaned forward, eyebrows raised at your jubilant entrance. Ma sighed wistfully.
Aww.
That brings back memories. Cove chuckled shyly as he scratched the back of his neck. I hope we're not too late. Nope, you're just in time. But you better start packing it up. Liz will be waiting. Mom nodded as she stood up from her seat. She lightly ran her fingers over her clothes to smooth out the wrinkles. It took you a second to remember where you have put your stuff. You needed to get it all in the car so you could get everything back to your hotel. Can I help? You shrugged and directed him to your bags. With Cove, your mom's, and yourself on the job, it only took one trip to the car to get everything. Cove firmly closed the trunk and you thanked everyone for the assistance. Of course, kiddo. Come along, Nyan-Posse family. Let's get in the car. That means you too, Cove. You know you're essentially family anyways. Thanks. Exactly. Well said, Yui. Cove climbed into the back seat with a decidedly touched expression on his face. You got it on the other side. When everyone was situated and buckled, the engine was started and Ma pulled out onto the street. You couldn't help but feel amused to be stuck in the back seat with Cove. Your mom's driving you around. It really was like you were little kids again. Cove caught you staring at him and gave you a bent smile. He was probably on the same wavelength as you from the sheer mischief in it. The entire trip was marked by a heavy sense of anticipation. Everyone was excited to see Liz enter and hear what she'd been up to. When you neared the airport, Mom pulled out her phone to call Liz. Ma folded the signs to the correct pickup area and asked for you to shout if you saw your sister. Yeah, Liz, we're at Wing B. There's a blue sign that says North America?
Alright.
Tell her that we're right in front of the building with blue windows. She says that she's outside right by a yellow truck. I see at least 3 yellow trucks. I think they're doing work at the airport. The back and forth continued, with Ma driving around in the wide circular airport road, while Mom continued coordination between her and Liz's location. Aha! You leaned forward, peering out of the front of the car. A tall, poised silhouette pulled a pale purple roll-along suitcase behind her. It was definitely Liz. She waved to the car. Ma parked along the sidewalk next to her, and Mom put her phone away with a cheer. Mission accomplished, team! Ma excitedly reached over to grasp Mom's raised hand, thrilled that both of her kids were back.
Good job.
That's right. Liz came closer and yanked open the back door beside her. She popped her head into the car, her smile ordinary despite how tired she appeared. It must have been a long trip for her, yet her expression was that same familiar smirk that you had grown up with.
Hey.
Hello, children. I'm back. Liz! I missed you! I missed you! You laughed. Liz, welcome back. Rude. Oh, hey, old grandparent who doesn't have any kids. This one.
Rude.
You shouldn't speak to your elders like that. You smiled at her, you reached over and hugged her, you poked her cheek, you took hold of her hand, you shook your head. Hug! You quickly unbuckled and then launched yourself at your sister. She wrapped her arms around you and squeezed. Well, hi to you too, kiddo. Hello, sweetie, it's so nice that you're here. Hi, Elizabeth. He jokingly huffed at her. We're not children. Whatever you say, baby boy. She turned her gaze back to Mom and Ma. You really know how to make someone feel appreciated. Her spirits were high. You could tell that she was just as happy to be here as everyone was to see her. She left the door open but ducked out to walk around to the back of the car. She opened the trunk and left her luggage in. I'm gonna move your junk, Yui. I'll keep it in front of my bag so you can get it later. Ma's dropping you off first, right? Yes, but that's just not junk. It's important. Liz slammed the trunk closed without responding. Liz swung around to the open door. You noticed that her hair had a few flyaways, no doubt from a long day of traveling. She leaned against the frame of the car, giving you and Cove a significant look. I am not sitting in the middle. I already had 5 hours of that nightmare on the flight. There's no way I'm getting in between the two of you. I mean, really, who would ever want to be the person pulling Cove Holden and Yui Nyan-Posse apart? Liz puffed up indignantly, yet again added her classic tease of your relationship. Liz continued along like she didn't notice.
So?
I don't care how you decide who's scooting. I figure you can fight it out somehow. Cove glanced over at you and shrugged. He unbuckled his seatbelt and moved to the middle. Thanks, Cove. I guess I'll always have a bossy big sister. I'm sorry you're always in the middle, Cove. Some people just must get their own way. Good job. I wasn't moving. You stayed silent. I guess I'll always have a bossy big sister. It's always the law. It's more like Liz will never change. Exactly. Why would I need to? With the window seat open, Liz squished herself in the car and shut the door. When everyone was settled, Ma began to pull out.
Let's go.
We're off! Hopefully we finish the journey. This car is almost as old as we are.
Now.
And it still is just as good as you are. All the complaining definitely means Liz is back. We're equivalent to this junker. Hey, I love this old car. You sadly watched what was happening outside the window. All this complaining definitely means Liz is back. So complains Yui. Mom turned up the radio as Ma merged onto the highway. The station was familiar, the normal soundtrack for when she had driven you and Liz around town. Liz bounced in her seat, enjoying the classic tune. This song would be old enough to vote at this point if it was a person. Now it was hard to believe. With Liz, the conversation livened up despite it getting later and later in the night. She told you all about her week and all the travel preparations she made. By the time she made it to the actual tale of travel itself, Liz started chuckling. On the plane, Liz had sat next to a couple of girls who had talked a lot about how well they could read people. Liz recounted their conversation with her in hilarious detail, as they had apparently tried to guess her occupation after only shaking her hand. Neither of the girls could agree with one another, and Liz had refused to just tell them. However, the drive to your hotel was only so long. Eventually your group arrived. You yawned and got out of the car when it stopped. Cove clambered out after you. Liz gave a loud sigh of relief at all the extra space she found herself with. You and Cove grabbed the luggage and then waved off your family after you had said your goodbyes. After they left, you and Cove went to go find your room. You scanned the key card to unlock your hotel room. It sounded out a soft beep and you turned the handle of the door. The door creaked open, then you craned your head in to take a look. Ooh, fancy, fancy. The first thing you noticed was the large king-size bed in the middle of the room. It was a prim, modern-looking space. It seemed clean and smelled faintly like floral air freshener. A smile played on Ko's face as he watched your face take into space. The bed's nice, huh? Which one of us is gonna use it? He burst out laughing, glared at him. Are you serious? Here we go again. Me, you can fend for yourself. You stared blankly at him. Me, you can fend for yourself. That was a joke. Can we please share the bed? Yes. Thanks. I gotta go to the hotel, didn't I? Yeah, you picked out a nice one. It's passable. I guess we'll manage. Thanks for handling this. I'd say it's nice. It's the same hotel I would have picked out on my own. It makes sense since you'd go for this one. Looks like your room at Kyra's place. You noted wordlessly in approval. This one. Ko pouted exaggeratedly. Well, that room was like a good hotel room, so that means that this is a good hotel room. You and Cove continued to chat as you settled in. You unpacked some of your stuff and checked out all the rooms in Nenanese. Cove pointed out the mini fridge and started puzzling over what food could be ordered to the room. However, the fact is, you were both exhausted. It didn't take too many yawns before you both changed into your pajamas and called it a day. You had to hunt along the wall to locate the light switch. When you finally found it, you flicked it off with a sense of triumph. You turned your head over to Ko. He stood behind you in his pajamas. He was cozy and comfortable, but the pieces didn't match. He never minded that. We should get some sleep. Ko smiled, a soft expression that was adorable.
All right.
Let's go to sleep. Despite saying that it was bedtime, Ko took a step forward towards you. He wrapped his arms around your back, and you leaned into his embrace. Then he lifted you off your feet. What? Still not putting you down, Ko promptly dropped himself backwards. They both you across onto the tight tucked sheets of the hotel bed. He laughed the entire time. He's so fucking cute. I love him so much. Ko bounced on the landing and absorbed most of the impact. He laid on his chest, feeling a little jostled. You could go alongside him. You're an absolute madman, he teased. Could have warned me. That was scary. Let's do it again. He swallowed his shoulder for that. Let's do it again! He felt like a kid who had just ridden a roller coaster and had to get right back in line. That was the kind of thrill you lived for. He smiled up at the ceiling, a thought clearly crystallizing. My dad used to do that kind of thing to me when I was little, sort of. He made a small noise, understanding that turned into a yawn. When Cove yawned in return, he pulled up the sheets until you were actually under the blankets. Good night, Cove. Night. Till the bedbugs bite. Sweet dreams. You stuck your tongue out at him playfully. Hey, so do you know why pigeons are called pigeons when they're actually doves? This one. Cove blinked at your random tangent. He yawned and continued talking. Your sleepy brain happy to info dump. Hell yeah! Autism hours, boys! Let's go! Pigeon actually used to refer to a young cheeping bird, not a species like it does. Cove nodded along as you continued, seeming interested despite the random topic. By the time you finished, he was watching you intently. Then you kissed his lips, kissed his nose, kissed his forehead, ruffled his hair, pinched his cheek. You shot him a sleepy grin. Smooch! You shifted yourself closer so that you could lean in. You kissed Cove and felt his lips perk into his mouth before kissing you back, obviously enjoying his goodnight kiss. Cove wrapped his arms around you and snuggled next to you. He let out a contented breath. You reached out to hold Cove under one arm and then used your other hand to comb through his hair. The two of you relaxed into one another, and you knew neither of you would want to be anywhere else. I can't believe we're really here. You and Liz and everyone else are going to be here in Sunset Bird again. I was staring at all the scenery going by while we were driving here, and it honestly felt like we never left. He ran a hand down his face. I mean, in some ways it feels like it's just been ages and everything's different. Some of that is definitely because I'm staying at a hotel instead of being in my room at Dad's, but yeah. It's so weird, it feels so natural to me. I don't even know how I feel. It's exciting, I just hope things go okay. You couldn't even put anything you felt into words. It's exciting. Cove nodded. He understood completely. I'm looking... A yawn forced an interruption into his statement. Cove was undeterred. I'm looking forward to this. He tucked his head into your neck. He felt his lashes flutter close against your skin. Same here.
See you tomorrow.
His words were whispered you barely heard. It might not even have been that exactly. You might have just been guessing. Cove always had a habit of mumbling. It was okay either way. Whether you heard it or not only thought you heard. The sentiment was truly regardless. Cove would see you tomorrow when he opened his eyes and the sunlight returned to your hometown sunset bird. You comfortably drifted off to sleep and eagerly awaited seeing Cove tomorrow as well. Your eyes gently opened to see a dim, unfamiliar ceiling. You recalled that where you were, a hotel room. Yawning, your muscles felt relaxed and warm enough that sleep threatened to pull you under again. Morning. Cove's voice brought you back to consciousness. The heat made sense now. You knew the comfortable weight against you was your boyfriend. His arm was draped around you, and his fingers were lightly drawing shapes on your pajamas. You twisted over to face him fully. Morning. Did you sleep well? I did. The expression on his face softened with a content sigh. He felt his index finger lightly trace out the shape of a heart. There's nothing but good dreams when you're around. You squeezed him adoringly in your arms. He snuggled against his chest. You played with his hair dozingly, gently kissed him. You let out a soft breath. You slipped out of bed to start the day. Smooch! Eyes half lidded, you reached forward and covered Cove's lips with your own. You exhaled softly through your nose and parted for only a fraction to take in air. Cove cupped your cheek delicately and leaned his forehead into yours. He brushed your skin with his thumb before pressing into a new kiss. Neither of you were making any moves to get up and actually start the day. It was sweet and comfortable to be wrapped up in Cove. You could indulge just a little while longer. Eventually, enough time flew by that you really weren't any minutes to spare. There were too many people waiting, so you both crawled out of the sheets together. Standing up, Cove took a few seconds to stretch. He glanced over at you with an animated expression. I'm really looking forward to your mom's anniversary dinner tonight. It's gonna be fun. I think so too.
I mean...
This whole trip is great, actually. Being here with everybody is like having another chance at being a kid. We can do all the stuff we used to, and all the things we never did but wanted to. Oh yeah. Something about the way Cove worded that dug up a memory you hadn't thought about in a long time. The first time you met his dad, and the money he offered you. Chewing at the inside of your cheek, it felt like a lifetime ago, but you knew that it would still matter to Cove if he knew. You just weren't entirely sure what it would mean to him. You took a quick peek at Cove, but his stare was already glued to you. You raised a questioning eyebrow, leaving the rest up to you. I'm gonna save, because I think now is the right time to tell him. I'm gonna tell him. I think now's the right time, too. Enough time has passed. Actually, there's something I've been waiting for a chance to talk about. Hey, it's a funny story, but truthfully, I need to get something off my chest. It's really nothing. Shook your head. You never plan on telling him about it. Actually, there's something I've been waiting for a chance to talk about. Cove frowned, but he had his attention. He slowly slid down to sit on the corner of the bed. He told Cove about the deal. Never mind. I'm telling him. Okay, when you and your dad moved to the neighborhood and you ran away, remember that? Of course. When I met your dad first, and during that conversation, he offered me $20 to be your friend. His mouth fell open, and his head tilted to the side. There was no unringing that bell. But I didn't take the money. The look on Cove's face twisted. His eyes pushed into a squint. His lips screwed up, and he saw his stare dart across your face. Ah. So I made a fucky-wucky, I think.
Oh my god.
No! The realization tumbled out of him in a whisper. You couldn't read his expression, but it remained firm. Until big, sad tears started bubbling up and dripping down his cheeks. He flew a few steps forward, shocked and eyes wide with concern. I think I might have fucked up. If this turns anything bad, luckily I saved this, so... It's okay, please don't cry. I'm sorry. It's really not so bad. You froze. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. The apology came out in a whisper. It felt like a broken record, but that's all you could think of. Cove's tense jaw slowly loosened as his mouth began to wobble into a frown. Emotions overtook him, and he failed to swallow down a broken sob. The tears pooling in his eyes intensified, and they streamed quickly down his cheeks. Cove hung his head low and let them fall. You wiped his tears away, you held him in your arms, you stroked his hair, you gave his back gentle pats, you stood next to him. I'm gonna hold him in my arms. Unable to stay back any longer, you closed the space between you both. He flinched over your touch initially, but after Cove leaned into you, and his sobs reverberated into your chest. The tears continued, but he didn't mind getting wet because Cove needed this more. You just wanted him to feel better. It wasn't right away, but Cove was eventually able to pull himself more together. He straightened his back and sniffled. He took a nervous step backwards to give him some space. Cove let out a shaky breath while he scrubbed the remaining tears from his face.
It's okay.
I'm not upset with you for what happened, or because you're telling me now. You didn't do anything. Okay, good, so he's not going to break up with me or anything. I actually feel bad for you. You had to keep a secret you didn't ask for, and it was for most of your life. A weight felt like it was lifted off your chest. The corner of Cove's mouth hooked into a bent smile, but his stare was still glossy with tears. I'm not mad at my dad either. Okay, good, we're fine. We're fine. Everything's fine. Then why are you crying? His tone grew delicate. His emotions were catching back up with him. Cove, please. I'm just so happy with my life and how it went. But so much of that, what happens with everything, is out of your control. Just stuff like this, my dad secretly offering me money to be my friend. Remembering those days when I was little and pretty much my whole world was decided by other people, just really made it all hit. Especially because I'm finding out there was even more going on than I realized. His bottom lip quivered and new tears ran down his cheeks. It's scary to think about. It would have been so easy for none of this to have ever happened. Cove threw his arms to the side, trying to convey where you were standing, where you had ended up after spending a life growing up together. What if my dad moved us to a different neighborhood? Or if I didn't move away with him at all? Or if my dad didn't care if I had friends or not?
I'm so glad.
But it didn't go differently, and you're here with me. We're together, and my parents are some of my very best friends, and I'm just really glad. Your legs felt weak under you during his confession, but you remained rooted in place. Cove seemed to grow more confident.
I love you.
So much. I don't think there's anything in the world that would have kept us apart. I'm grateful that I got to meet you. You're the best thing that's ever happened to me. I love you too. You're my one and only too. He nodded understandingly. I don't think there's anything in the world that would have kept us apart. The words set a flame of fluttering in your chest that extended deep in the core of yourself. Deep down, you knew that it was the truth. You and Cove were always meant to make it to this point. Yeah? Cove's voice came out in a delighted laugh. Like he was in awe of you. His eyes watered again. I can feel that it's true. I know it. You were always bound to meet each other. The shakiness in Cove's smile lessened, and it grew stronger and more assured. Okay, Cove is happy now. Good. Happy Cove! You hugged him, you kissed him, you held his cheeks in your hands, you smiled back. I'm gonna smooch him. Cove got the idea immediately when your gaze fell to his lips, and you were crashing into each other. Every motion since you told him what the deal seemed to flare up to take one final bow during this kiss. Your fingers curled tightly into Cove's arms, and his hands firmly held you in place around the back. His kiss grew gentler, and you peppered more going up to the side of his jaw. Cove closed his eyes, steadying his breath. He hoped with every kiss that he could feel just how much he meant to you. You both waited there, enjoying each other's company. When another minute passed, you felt a calmness settle in your chest. It's out in the open finally. That's a relief. Yeah, but hey, your secret-keeping skills are seriously unmatched. Hell yeah, guys! I'm such a good secret keeper. Chuckling, Cove ran a hand through his hair. He nodded in agreement, trying not to think too much about how many years you'd been holding on to that. We even got together before you brought it out. Oops, I was worried about how you were going to react. I didn't think it was that big a deal. I couldn't rat Mr. Holden out. You turned away, unable to say anything. I was worried about how you were going to react. Your voice trailed off into a whisper, and your head hung heavily. I get it. I would have been afraid to tell me if I was younger too. He surprised you further with something remarkable. He smiled.
Don't worry about it.
It's fine now. There was a playful gleam, and Cove's expression shifted into a smirk. He leaned forward, and you could feel the warmth of his breath. Are there any other confessions you want to make while we're doing this? Instantly, your skin felt like it was prickling and hot. Thoughts about dropping to one knee spun rapidly around in your mind. You noticed your shocked reaction. Actually, don't worry about it. I was joking. Cove scratched the back of his neck nervously. You took a deep breath and felt yourself calm down. Thanks. Yeah. Cove clapped his hands together at once, trying to clear out the awkward air. Well, we better get back to business, huh? We got a full schedule ahead of us for your mom's big day. Sighing deeply, Cove shrugged. The look he gave you was warm and affectionate, and you knew that everything was going to be okay. But thanks again, for letting me know what happened. No problem. I'm glad we got to talk about this. After that, you and Cove moved around each other, busily getting dressed and ready for the day. Light laughter and chatter filled the air entire time. Bags were packed and phones were sought after. You suddenly tossed Cove his phone where he hadn't been able to find it. You handed Cove his phone where he hadn't been able to find it. You slapped Cove's butt as he stepped past you. Surely. Hang on, let's leave the rest first. You somehow lost a single sock, but Cove found it behind the headboard. I wonder how that happened. Shook your head at Cove when he ran a hand through his hair instead of brushing it. Ass! Cove let out a small yelp. He met his hands with a single impish grin, and he shook his head.
Oh,
Careful! His shyness melted away as he put himself inches from you. I might have to do something to return the favor. What do you mean by that? Oh yeah, speaking of sex, apparently this game has a 18 plus DLC on their Patreon, on the creator's Patreon. So guess what I'm going to be doing after I complete this game? There's nothing else stopping either of you now. In minutes, you are hopping into your ride and heading back to the neighborhood. It was another beautiful summer day in Sunset Bird. You couldn't resist rolling the window down so you could absorb it all during the drive. Cove sat across the seat from you, near the opposite window. His gaze was locked outside, catching all the old landmarks and vehicles passing. Your spirit rose even higher the moment you made it home once more. Eager, you hopped out of the car and let yourself inside. Your moms knew you were going to be there that morning. For the second that you made it past the threshold, an excited scream nearly scared you out of your shoes.
Hi.
You're here, and guess what? I'm here too! Lee! Oh my god, she's so cute! Oh my god, I love the pink hair. It suits her. My god, look at her. She's a material girl. Fuck. Lee is so cute. Look at her. Ah! While your heart rate settled, a broad grin quickly took over your face. Since your cousin moved out on her own, you noticed that she really found her own groove. Hell yeah, she's a material girl. She was still the same loving person she'd always been on the inside, but she expressed herself in new ways. Lee was strong, kind, and smart. Over the past few years, she graduated college with a degree in history. The last you heard, she was pursuing her dreams, working towards getting into the music industry. Oh, good for her! I'm happy for her. Lee, hey, it's so nice to see you. You look great. Can I get some warning next time you're gonna screech? You smiled. You look great. Thanks. She beamed, putting her hands on her hips. Lee gave you a once-over. I'm not the only one. Shaking your head, you laughed at the appraisal. Lee's gaze narrowed with scrutiny. Don't be modest, I mean it, you look happy. Lee leaned to the side to glance past you and meet Cove's eye. The grin on her face widened while she waved. Hi, Cove. Hey, nice to see you, Lee. I got in practically at dawn. It was a whole thing, but at least I made it here alive. Lee exhaled and slumped her shoulder to emphasize how exhausting the ordeal was. Behind her, Liz made her way over. She crossed her arms at the scene. Oh, her dress is so cute. Or is that a romper? Either way, I like her outfit. It's adorable. I'm here too, in case you were wondering. I'm always wondering if you're there somewhere. Nope, I wasn't, but thanks anyway. You merely shrugged. You shook your head. I wasn't, but thanks anyway. Lee giggled and Liz's eyes narrowed at your remark. She seemed to stand up straighter, and the demure smile on her face didn't move. It wouldn't kill you to say hello, you know. You neither, but I am glad to see you too.
Thanks.
The feeling's mutual. Another friendly shout rang out in the living room. It was as cheery as it ever was from the many times you heard it over the years. Good morning, family! Your parents both came out from the side hall together. Morning!
Well,
Now that everyone is here, I do have a little something to mention. Ma put her hand lovingly over her wife's. Mom leaned her head into Ma's with matching affection. We're all still having dinner together, but Pam here just actually made plans to take me out to brunch to celebrate our anniversary. Just the two of us. Aww. Sorry to push you out, but I'm sure this group of mature grown-ups will be able to entertain themselves for an afternoon. We don't need to find a babysitter or anything.
totally.
Yeah, have fun, moms. Don't worry about it. We can survive that easy. Enjoy your brunch. This works out, actually. An afternoon open means there's time to meet up with Terry and Randy. Hopefully they're free today. Oh, I hope we get to see him! Your two school friends still lived around the area. They knew you were coming to see your mom's party, but when or how you might arrange to see each other wasn't set in stone.
Sounds good.
Definitely, we should call them.
All right.
I have some people I'd like to say hi to as well. Liz had her cell phone in hand, ready to get her plans made before she was even done speaking. Arching an eyebrow, she then directed the next part at Lee. Would you want to come along? We've missed out on a lot of cousin bonding time in the past.
Yeah.
I'd love to. It'd be an honor to hang out with you, Liz. And whose fault is that? No fair. Lee's meant to go with me. Hope you two have fun. You nodded. Hope you both have fun. Don't worry, fun is my specialty. Clearly, look at your whole appearance, girl. We'll try not to have all the fun. Don't get into too much trouble. You shook your head and Liz winked. She then glanced back at her phone and rapidly typed a new text. Excellent, it's settled. She squeezed her wife's hand. Her gaze took in the whole room, ecstatic to have the house full again. Today is going to be perfect.
Yes.
I think so too. I truly couldn't be happier with my wife, my children, and our whole beautiful family. It's already a wonderful anniversary. There were ahs and sweet comments from the group gathered around the couple of the hour. Seeing how your moms were, you couldn't help but hope that when you got to be their age that you could be as proud of life as them. But Ma's attention then fell on you, and the look on her face twisted mischievously. A shiver shot down your spine. This is a very good time of year for a marriage, don't you think so? Oh, God! Marriage! With snickers, all eyes eagerly slid over to you and Cove. Shocked at her implication, his cheeks burned red. There was no missing the meaning in Ma's words. She was clear as a bell, and she knew it. Your mind leapt to the plan that you'd been recreating, and you had been making moves in that direction. You wonder if Cove agreed with Ma's words. You've been hoping, waiting for him to ask. Your mind leapt at those words. It wasn't something you planned on, but maybe she was right. You realized recently you're happy with the relationship you had. You didn't want anything else new. This one. But you stared straight ahead, trying to conceal the marriage thought spinning in your head. The last thing you wanted was to pressure him into acting before he was ready. You caught Cove shyly rubbing at the slight scar that was still visible on his arm. His stuttering never quite reached full sentences. It instead turned into silence. Cove's brain was shutting down. Ma's sympathy for him.
There.
You don't have to say anything. It's just a little thing to ponder. At that, Cove's mouth snapped shut. With a stiff nod, he creakily glanced at you. If it was only the two of you here, you got the impression he would have had something to say. For now, a meaningful look was all there was. Right then, let's get back to what we were doing. After that, you enthusiastically began setting up plans to meet with your friends. They were both able to come with you, having kept their schedules free for this, and you couldn't wait. Cove was also speedily sending text messages. Since you conveyed the plans to Terry and Randy, you imagined that he was letting his parents know about what he was going to be up to. The group continued to chat and catch up until it was time for your mom's brunch and your big meetup with your friends. Soon enough, everyone was out of the door looking forward to their fun-filled afternoons and the dinner later that night. Once outside on the neighborhood street, you looked at Cove. He looked at your side with a bent smile. Terry and Randy were driving into town while you and Cove were traveling on foot to meet them at an easier reach spot. Man, we really are kids in Sunset Bird again, having to rely on other people who actually have cars to really get anywhere. Now we're stuck walking to whatever is nearby. You laughed, nodded in agreement. No, we're reverting back to infancy. We never drive anyway. You shook your head. We're reverting back to infancy. A snort was followed by a true laughter from Cove. Teasingly, you pouted. This isn't funny, Cove. I don't want to be a baby again. I didn't realize we were regressing that seriously. He shrugged and stuck his hands in his pocket. The thought of being little again made you shiver. I couldn't go back to that. I like being me currently. I mean, I wouldn't mind reliving my high school days because, you know, I want to, like, try and fix high school, you know? Like, try and fix my high school days. Because, yeah, I miss being fucking young. I'm gonna be, like, 27 in a couple of days. I mean, 24 in a couple of days. 24. I'm not that old yet. My birthday's on the 27th. That's why I fumbled. I'm gonna be fucking 24, not 27. You bounced forward several steps and shot Cove a playful look over your shoulder. With that, the two of you began your trip down the old road. It was a casual stroll in town, and before you knew it, you were at one of the large parking lots in Sunset Bird. It's the one that used to have the little crepe stall. It doesn't have it anymore? Damn it! I was gonna say that we could go for some crepes. Remembering the delicious smell, you got lost in thought. The store did well enough that it moved into a full-size building a couple of years ago now. You'd seen pictures. It was really cute. The parking lot was now just, well, an empty lot that cars would theoretically park in. Not many took the offer. Cove pulled out his phone, texting Terry and Randy in a group chat to let them know you'd made it. Someone must have answered already because Cove gave you a status update while you were staring at the screen. Randy texted, "I can see you." The blare of a car horn cut you off. You and Cove both turned toward the source of the noise. One of the windows rolled down. Oh my god! His voice is so deep now! He's on T! I'm so happy for him! Let me see him! Let me see my boy Terry! Friends had arrived, making a spectacle of it as expected. Being the only car meant that they got the pick of the lot, so they pulled to a stop in front of you. The window closed back up, and instead the two front doors propped open. Terry and Miranda stepped out into the pavement. Hi, Cove. Hi, Huey. Oh, she is so pretty. She is so pretty. Oh, Miranda, I missed you. Listen, if you weren't already in a happy relationship with Terry, I would have stolen you. But then again, I'm dating Cove. but I'm polyamorous, so this could work. With a cheery wave, Miranda skipped towards you. Terry, on the other hand, walked speedily over to Cove, squeezing him into a hug. A quiet laugh escaped Cove, along with the majority of the air in his lungs. He didn't fight the constriction, but instead gave Terry's back a pat with a large grin spreading across his face. Oh, look at him! Look at him! I missed him! Terry! When you let Cove go, Terry came right up to you. He held up his fist for you to bump it. You hugged him instead, you fist bumped him instead, you smacked his fist with a high five to make it a turkey, you waved, "Turkey!" Terry nodded saggily. You wiggled your fingers as an added hello. Gobble, Yui. Ah, it's great that we have that old joke still. It felt so nice to have your friend group reunited as adults. Terry was currently a full-time lifeguard down at the busier beach town over. You were proud of him. He'd helped out a lot of people in his line of work. Miranda took Cove's hand and squeezed one of yours in her other. Her eyes alike, she gave you both a gentle squeeze.
So great.
I'm so happy to see you again. Hey Terry, hi Miranda. He answered assuredly. It was clear that he was equally glad to see them. This reunion was long awaited. For a while, Miranda had been working hard as an assistant at a school while continuing her own education. Oh, good for her! She also had kept busy running a small online shop selling crafted knickknacks she made. Oh, I love her so much. She's so gorgeous. I'm sorry. I know I keep saying how pretty Miranda is, but can you blame me? She is so beautiful, and I'm happy that she's selling shit. Same, it's good to see you too. I miss you. It's been forever. You look so cute, you smug. You look so cute. Aw, stop that. The pink in her cheeks deepened at your compliment. I mean it. You knew how well Miranda's plate had been for a while now, but despite the busy schedule, she really did take the time to put together a fantastic look. Miranda released your hands. Giggling, she eyed you both carefully. So how have you been?
It's nice.
Things have been nice. Everything is perfect. It's fantastic. I've been doing well. I'm okay. No comment. You shrugged. Everything is perfect.
That's cool.
I can tell you're sparkling. Standing up straighter, you felt a surge of pride for yourself. You were really happy with where you were in life and where the trajectory seemed like it was taking you. I'm really glad for you. What about you? I'm super. Terry sided up next to Miranda and put his arm around her shoulder. Sighing dreamily, Randy chuckled up at her boyfriend. Yeah, things have been unbelievable. He pressed his cheek against Miranda's, and she let out a light squeak. The sight put an immune grin on your face. Aww, I love them. Your friends made a wonderful couple. They knew each other well and cared about each other so much. It was no shock at all when you heard the news that they started dating. I'm not surprised either. I was totally not surprised, as they were already OTP in my head. Corner of your mouth curled playfully while you took in the warm welcomes all around. At times, it was still kind of funny how your group of 4 friends evolved into 2 couples. Not that you were complaining about it. You thought it was an amazing thing. Cove then pulled his phone out and peeked at the screen. He repeated the motion every so often. You raised a curious eyebrow at his unusual behavior. Cove was too focused on whatever he was doing to even notice you noticing him, which was even stranger. Oh no, I do that too. Like sometimes when I'm at work, sometimes I'll check my phone to check the time. It's like a not really like a stim thing. It's like a fidget thing, I think. Yeah. I think it's like a fidget thing for me to check the time from my phone, because sometimes I just don't know what to do with my hands, and it's a bitch and a half.
So,
Is there anything either you want to do while we're here? Any place you'd want to see? I'd be up for a lot of things, but actually there is something that I want to do right here. Oh yeah, what's that? Terry poked at Cove's arm playfully. Miranda met your eye, silently asking if you had any idea what Cove was talking about. You shrugged. I just want to see my friends. Huh, Cove, you're already doing that.
Well...
True, but I could be doing it even more. You, Terry, and Miranda all turned to Cove with identical, incredulous expressions. His stare moved to a point past you 3, and you heard the scrape of sand and gravel underfoot. Oh? Someone else stepped into the parking lot. Startled, you jumped at the call of the warm voice shouting over.
Sup, guys and gals?
I need to breathe. I can't. I still do Oh boy. Listen. 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 I'm not saying I'm looking at him disrespectfully, but listen. He's got those arms for days. Bro, he could crush my arms, and I would thank him. He could crush my head with those arms, and I would thank them. Running a hand through his hair, the person who crossed the lot was unmistakably Derek Suarez, who was beaming the whole way. It's been too long, even though it hasn't actually been that long, but long enough. Derek, well, I'm so glad you're here. Oh man, hunk alert. You ran over and hugged him. You grabbed onto his arm excitedly, waves at him. Hunk alert! Bashful, Derek scratched the back of his head. Well, it is pretty true, but you don't have to say it. I think I do. Someone better report those guns. Thanks to all your encouragement, Derek went along with the fun and held his arms up, flexing. A pause broke out among your group, and he whistled, causing a red blush to darken his cheeks.
I missed you.
He spoke to you gently. You were thrilled just being there reunited with him. Derek was a good friend of yours, and he had been for a long time. Hey. You waved over at Terry and Miranda pleasantly. Over the years, they all had met several times in passing, simply through being friends with the same people. Sup, big man? Hi, it's so great you could come. Ko put himself next to Derek, happy he clapped a hand over his friends. Hi, thanks for coming.
Thanks.
Of course, thanks for inviting me. Sheepishly, Cove looked back at you and the others. That's when it clicked in your mind. It wasn't his parents that he was texting earlier, it was Derek the entire time. Derek is in town for a few months to help my dad and his dad with some work. Yep, I'm working on my own business thing too, but I'm still involved with running this scuba shop when it's called for.
Very nifty.
Humming, Derek elbowed Cove.
So?
But hey, we don't have to stand around here for my sake. What's the plan? Let's hit the town. Eager to get going, everyone piled into Terry's car. The rest of the afternoon was spent visiting spots all over Sunset Bird, laughing and reminiscing the whole way. Once it started to get late, Terry brought you and Cove back to the neighborhood. You didn't have to walk there after all. You didn't get out until promises were made to see each other again before your trip ended. Side by side, you and Terry stood in the street and waved at the car as it drove away. Terry tapped the horn for 2 honks while Miranda stuck her hand out the window to wave back. Sighing as soon as the car turned down the other street, they were finally out of sight. Well, that was one party. Time for another. Ready to go see your moms? Always. Let's keep the celebration going. You shimmied a bit right there in the street for added emphasis. He looked at you amusedly and rolled his eyes.
Come on.
Let's go. Spirits high, you and Cove crossed the distance to your house. It was almost time for your anniversary dinner. You barely stepped out into the threshold of the condo before Ma descended, eagerly welcoming you both. The usual greetings were followed by questions on everyone's well-being, after which the conversation moved on to excited chatter about tonight's dinner plans. Cove excused himself to the restroom to freshen up before being on the move again. But when he returned, you were shocked to see he had entirely changed outfits. Give me a minute. Cove, my beloved. Him. It's him, my boy. It's him. I love him. Hey, let me get. Ow! Oh! Shh! Ow! Fuck! I'm okay. Hang on. I'm okay. Give me a second. Sorry, I may or may not have fallen out of my chair. But that means I'm falling for Cove Holden. Sir, I noticed that you don't really have buttons on the top of your shirt right there. Well, do you want me to unbutton the rest of them for you? You know, just to make things even, Chat, please don't clip this. Where did that come from? I packed it with me so I couldn't get dressed before the dinner without having to go back to the hotel, didn't you? Or maybe you have stuff still here at your mom's place. No, Cove, I didn't do that. But your mom's party's at the country club. That's also where Liz took golf lessons. Not everyone is there in their Sunday best. It'd be different if we were going to one of the club's parties, but we're only going for a regular meal. Ko was absolutely befuddled by your expression as you were with his actions. He threw his arms up, desperate for understanding.
Seriously?
How can you not dress nicely for a country club? Listen, sir, it's okay. I will dress nicely for you if you unbutton those 2 buttons right there. They look like they are struggling to stay on. Sir, relieve those buttons! I don't think the Cypress is as special as you've decided it is. You saw Ma. She wasn't in formal clothes. She's one of the guests of honor. His frown wobbled and his cheeks became far pinker. He looked down at his own self regrettably as he pulled out the cuffs ends of his shirt. He seemed more like a scolded child than a grown man dressed for the latest charity gala. I thought she was gonna get changed while you and me were... Ma? No way. She'd need a whole lot more time than that. Well, it's okay. You look very nice. You're such a cutie. I love how much of an idiot you are. You shrugged, no comment needed. You patted his arm encouragingly. I love how much of an idiot you are. Cove could only sigh, fully embarrassed. Cove's eyes stole a glance at the hall, as if he was calculating if he had time for another quick change. Unfortunately for him, it was not meant to be. The time to head out came far quicker than he expected. Cliff and Kyra swung by the condo to make sure everything was in order, and for your second surprise at night, Cliff was also in formal clothes. Oh no, he didn't get the memo either! Cove's face excitedly whipped towards yours at the same time. Cliff went to Kyra's. The two men pointed at one another. Oh, they're doing the Spider-Man meme! I'm just imagining Cliff and Cove doing like the Spider-Man meme where like they're like pointing at each other, but it's with like their fancy clothes. See, he knows. Exactly, sport. Kyra was talking to me like I was crazy. The aforementioned Kyra placed a hand delicately yet dramatically across her eyes. Clifford, our son only knows this because you are the one who raised him. Cliff chuckled, his arms moving to scratch at the back of his neck. Yeah, that's my boy. The ends of Cliff's mouth gently bent up. He truly was his father's kid, in more ways than he realized. All the Neon Pasta family, as well as the honorary members, Cliff, Kyra, and Cove headed out at the same time to the Cypress. It was to be a perfect reunion. An impeccably smart host greeted you on arrival, smoothly leading the way to the set of tables reserved for your group. Once you'd all settled in, chosen drinks were poured into delicate glasses. The food would be coming out later, letting you soak up the atmosphere for a little longer. Smiling, your parents faced a group of familiar faces, all gathered here together to share this special day with them. Mom reached over and took Ma's hand, clasping it between both of hers.
Thanks.
Thanks for being here tonight, gang. Marrying this lady right here is the best thing I've ever done, and there's no one else I'd want to celebrate that with. Yes, we're so lucky. Not only do we have each other, but we've got such a large and loving family through all of you. Aww, moms. Around you, you heard people saying "aw" and chuckling appreciatively at the comment. Leah clasped her hand tightly in front of her, her eyes shining. Your eyes met Liz's misty ones, and the affection she had for her mom's carried over to you too. You returned your attention towards the happy couple just as they leaned into a kiss, smiling all the while. Aww, we finally get to see the moms kiss. Aww, and look at my sister and my cousin. God, I have such amazing women in my family. The table responded with cheers and clapping, shouts of happy anniversary and other congratulations continuing after they'd broken apart. Mom beamed as she watched Ma giggle dreamily.
Oh,
Hey! Cove's head snapped up suddenly as he placed both hands flat on the table. Dad! He narrowed his eyes as he stared at his father. I know what you did! Oh, he's talking about the frickin' bride thing! Oh, should you really be doing that right now, Cove? No, I'm just like imagining, like, I don't know why, I'm imagining like Cove being like the homophobic dog. You know, like the one that's like staring like straight into the camera like, I know what you are! Just homophobic Cove, even though he's literally pansexual. But then again, the homophobic dog isn't actually homophobic, obviously, because she literally has two dads. Cliff's eyes were wide as he glanced around nervously, looking genuinely confused. What? What did I do? He offered you $20 to be my friend. There was perplexing murmuring as the table started asking their neighbors about the sudden accusation. None looking more baffled than Cliff, who scratched his head as he screwed up his face in intense concentration.
huh?
When did that happen? Cove threw his hands up in the air. Behind him, he saw curious glances heading your way from nearby tables. The first time you met! The memory returned to Cove. He saw clearly in his expression, which flickered like an old dusty light bulb from pensiveness to realization. Oh yeah! He winked at you, then plastered on a sheepish grin before turning back to the sun. That's starting to ring some bells. My old master plan. Sorry, sport. Cove slumped back down in the seat, the fight leaving him in face of his father's total lack of shame. Sighing, he shook his head.
Unreal.
Apologize to Yui. Cove's expression went somber as he looked you straight on. He usually was so laid back, especially now that Cove was old enough to get himself out of most trouble, that it was a little unnerving. He opened his mouth. You braced yourself for his apology. Instead, he gave you a thumbs up.
Thanks.
Thanks for letting me get away with this the whole time. You're also my true ally. Oh my god, Cliff! Oh my god, Dad! You're welcome. It's no big deal. You smiled contentedly. You looked away bashful at the intention. You're welcome. Kyra rubbed the bridge of her nose, her eyes closed, yet she didn't seem surprised in the least. You can only suppose that she had enough direct experience with Cliff's antics to be inured to new revelations. The ladies of your family, on the other hand, were shooting each other questioning glances, mouths hung open, but they were uncharacteristically quiet. Ma was blinking rapidly, still reeling from the back and forth between father and son. While none of your family seemed entirely sure how to react to the news, one thing was clear. Cliff had pretty much escaped trouble, all thanks to you keeping quiet for long enough. Oh my god. I've been moved. The waves appeared, delivering delicious plates of food, and the dinner began in earnest. Both conversation and laughter continued to flow freely as the night went on, with the two families relishing the opportunity to be together once more. Eventually, after your hunger and thirst had been fully satisfied, the plates were cleared and the event began to draw to a close. Cliff and Kyra exchanged goodbyes to their family before heading out together. Cove gave his goodbyes to his parents while hanging back until your moms were ready to head off. You were getting a lift back with your moms. It was already late, so you discussed the possibility of going straight to the hotel rather than going back to the condo, but Cove had asked if he'd mind taking him back to the neighborhood. He wanted to visit a little while longer. Your moms had happily agreed. Liz and Lee were feeling tired, so your mom swung by their hotels during the trip home while you and Cove made the full journey with them. Riding in the back seat of your mom's car with Cove felt more than a little nostalgic. As your hands drifted over to him, his head resting on the window, it was hard to believe how much time had passed. Mom stretched as she got out of the car, smiling over her shoulder as she headed toward the house. Time to put my feet up. You two joining us? Cove shook his head. No thanks, it's your anniversary. You don't have to entertain us. I'll take a walk. It's never any trouble to have you over, Cove.
You alright with that?
Let him do as he pleases, Lonnie. But you better not stay out too much later or there'll be trouble. Ma chuckled as Mom waved a finger. Her expression exaggeratedly severe as she reprised a role that, in truth, she never really played. Neither of your parents had been particularly harsh as you've grown up. Ma joined in on the act. Don't go too wild just because there's no school tomorrow. Laughing, they made their way inside, leaving you standing out in the dark street with Cove. You didn't even need to ask him why. You had already had the answer for this. He wasn't ready yet for the day to end. Without a word, Cove began to stroll down the road. You walked alongside him. You'd known your destination long before you arrived on the dark and utterly deserted beach. There were no lights down here, nothing but the moon and the stars for illumination. The only sounds were the gentle waves rolling in and out, and the soft sound of the footprints you left in the sand. In other words, it was perfect. Cove stepped out into the waves without a word. He looked up at the sky with a smile, then tucked his head down and began to pull his fancy shirt off. Finally! Let's go! Shirts off! Hang on, I need to drink some of my water because I'm getting kind of thirsty. Wait. He tucked it over his head and lobbed it backwards, further up the beach and out of the reach of the waves. What are you doing? Didn't know I would be getting a show. Wait for me. He looked away embarrassed. He followed him into the water. You better not go any deeper into the water. Didn't know I'd be getting a show. Cove froze, his arm still raised from where he had thrown his shirt. Slowly, he came back to life, stiffly pulling his arm back down. Your commentary had made him self-conscious. Laughing, he clapped your hands in delight at his awkwardness. Glove slipped his dress pants off and he tossed them back in roughly the same direction as his shirt and went just down to his polka dot boxer briefs. I don't know if I'm allowed to show that. Please don't show that. Okay, it's showing. Okay, I don't know if I'm allowed to show that. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to show that. Sometimes you were really struck by the ways in which he was braver than his younger self. This was definitely one of those times. He never ever would have done this when you were both living on the street, but you'd also known he still wouldn't do it with anyone other than someone he'd spent all those years with. You took off your shirt so that you could swim, you took off your dress so you could swim, you decided you didn't care if your clothes got wet. You thought it was so wild that Cove was going to actually swim right now. I'm gonna take off my dress. Cove waded further into the water until it came up to his chest. You unfastened your clothes and left them behind you, just as Cove had done moments before. Bro, we're gonna have sex on the beach? You didn't even bother to see where they'd fallen out before following him deeper into the sea. Cove grinned as he approached. I'm gonna be in so much trouble with my moms when we get back.
I guess.
Yeah? Oh well. Think fast! He splashed water at you as soon as the words had left his lips, giving you no time to prepare. The splash had caught you full on, leaving you sputtering and drenched. You splashed him back, you simulate. You are a child. Splashed him back. Seeing what you were doing, Cove put his hands up for protection. It was no use. The water washed over him, leaving his hair soaked through. Cove sighed and looked at you mournfully. The sudden shift in mood alarmed you, but those worries disappeared as soon as he opened his mouth. We're still not merfolk. The world is cruel. Yeah, I know. He snickered. After a moment, Cove's mock sadness broke and he joined in. The two of you wound up drifting further down along the shoreline, chatting and enjoying the chance to be back on the beach that had provided the backdrop for so much of your childhood. Eventually, a silhouette of a structure appeared up ahead. As you drew closer, you realized it was the old playground. I don't suppose we're going to be seeing Jeremy here, right? Cove spotted it too and hurried towards it, dragging himself out of the water and heading it into the park. Wet sand coated his feet and lower legs with every step. clinging thickly enough that it began to resemble a bizarre pair of boots. As you followed him, you wondered how many visitors in this little park got these days. There are officially no children living in that neighborhood now. Cove gazed at his surroundings in wide-eyed awe. He didn't care at all that he was soaking wet and dressed only in his underwear. Crouching, he gently pushed one of the child-sized swings, marveling at it all.
Wow.
I can't believe how tiny everything is. Were we really seriously small enough to even use these? He shook his head, unable to fathom just how little you'd both been when you first met, then walked over to the monkey bars. Once there had been a challenge for you, now they were a little more than waist-height next to Cove. Cove turned his back to the bars and hopped up onto them with ease, sitting on them comfortably. You sat on the bars with him, you leaned against the bars, you stood in front of him. I'm gonna sit on top of the bars with him. It was strange seeing adult Cove juxtaposed with the baby playground, but you took your own place on this structure. This place had been something so exciting to Cove back when he first arrived, and apparently it was to this day. Cove smiled eagerly as you approached him, kicking his feet in the air happily, briefly forgetting the low vantage point until the tip of his toes scraped along the ground. You continued to swing his feet, but with a little more care, you thought it was adorable. In this moment, you were home. It just so happened to be the place that you'd grown up, but really, anywhere you could be with Cove was that for you. He had held a special place in your heart for so long, and you so much for your life had been shared. You'd grown up on the same street, which had given you some common ground, but it went far beyond that. You had both chosen from a young age to share your life with each other. You wouldn't have it any other way. Here we are again. Here we are. The mood had shifted now. The funny, impulsive night beach trip, with the spike of adrenaline that came from you playing in the water under the moonlight, had settled into something quieter and more nostalgic. Cove leaned back, tilting his head toward the sky to admire the stars above. Too bad I wasn't able to bring my surfboard along for this. Cove shrugged dramatically, trying to lift the mood a little. The dinner was really nice. It was great to do all this. The smile he had when he spoke those words fell as quickly as it appeared. It went by so fast. We all came out here for the party and it's over. Leslie, our parents, will all be going back to our own things now. Well, what else can you do except say it's okay? He shook his head, a wry-looking twinkling in his eyes. If I really never wanted to see things outside this place, this neighborhood, I would have actually followed through with that pretzel plan. This place, and these people, they're our foundation. It shaped who we are now, like making castles out of sand. I owed a lot to Sunset Bird. His eyes crinkled fondly, and Cove's voice was gentle when he spoke again. We had a good childhood, I think. I think so too. We're really lucky. I'll always remember our days here. Wow, you're sounding so old now, you joked. You simply shrugged. You soundly nodded. We're really lucky.
Yeah.
You're right. He shook his head, sighing heavily. Alright. His smile took on an uncharacteristically harsh twist. You had a feeling where this was going. You better get home before your dumb parents who don't know anything get mad. You had to laugh half-heartedly at the expression of the sour kid you once encountered in this very park. He chuckled along with you for a moment before tappering off. I hope we don't get grounded. The jokes kept coming. It was very amusing to imagine that not only could your parents somehow ground you as a fully grown and independent adult, but that their powers extended over to Cove as well. As much as you were enjoying being back here, Cove was right. You had to accept that you needed to go now. It was late, and your moms were still expecting to see you before you got a ride back to the hotel. You and Cove hopped down from the bars, landing easily with the ground only a short distance below. Once you and Cove had scrounged up your abandoned clothes, you started to walk up the old path home side by side. Droplets of water slipped down your skin and fell onto the road as you made your way back to your mom's house. As you and Cove were still soaked and sandy from your earlier adventure, it was likely that you were leaving quite a trail in your wake. But you'd seen Cove's bedroom growing up. It was only natural for him. The air was slightly humid, already pleasantly dense with moisture that felt like hugged it close around you. Any damp footsteps that were left behind would take longer to dry in this weather. The signs of your adventure might even be visible when the sun came up the next day. You hoped so. You quite liked the idea of you and Cove leaving your mark on your hometown again, even only for a little while. Despite being soaked through and mostly undressed, the balmy summer night prevented you from feeling any chilly. You were entirely comfortable. In truth, you felt warm inside and out. The day had been so lovely, spending time with friends and family, and your eyes drifted over to Cove. Cove Holden, your boyfriend. Just seeing him brought a smile to your face. I love you. I always want to be with you. Cove, you make me so happy. You're truly my other half. You said nothing, enjoying his presence. I love you. Cove turned to you, his eyes wide and adoring, and he bit his lip as he smiled shyly. You could tell that your words had touched him. I feel the exact same way. Exactly. He held your gaze a moment longer, looking straight at you as he spoke again.
I love you.
forever. Aww, Cove! You enveloped him in a hug, you playfully bumped against him with your side, you kissed him, reached for his hand, you nodded. This is how tonight had played out. Smooch! Catching him by the hand, you stopped Cove in his tracks and pulled him close. Your heart somersaulted as your lips met. At this moment, with the quiet seaside town at rest, it felt just like it was just the two of you in the world. Cove returned the kiss, gently cradling your head with his hand until you broke apart. You were full of joy. All other concerns and the day-to-day stresses of normal life were squeezed out by it. All you could think in that moment was how wonderful your life was. Every second and every day, you needed to end sometime, and that time had nearly come for tonight. You had to get at least some rest and bring it all to a close. And so the two of you went inside to say goodnight to your moms, as well as clean yourselves up as best as you could. Your moms, both in pajamas, ready for their own sleep, hooted with laughter as you came inside, disheveled and damp, and their teasing continued until the car came to get you to the hotel. Cove stayed silent as he put his casual clothes on again, placing the formal ones back in the bag he brought them in. You'd given Ma and Mom plenty of material for a mock scolding, and you got a playful lecture about not getting in the water without bothering to change first. You just grinned at your partner in crime, feeling like a naughty kid again. It had been worth it. By the time you and Cove finally dragged yourselves to your hotel room for the night, the sky had been dark for some time, and the lonely hotel hallways were quiet. The late hour made you feel a sense of fulfillment. You really were making the most of your trip. It was such an odd thought that this was almost over. You had settled into this new routine naturally. All the familiar streets and faces made everything easy to get used to. The two of you drowsily shuffled past an ice machine and into your room. Cove set his phone on his bedside table and he followed suit. You both started settling in for the night. The hotel room was a welcome sight after a long day. You noticed Cove rubbed the back of his neck and yawned. His voice was quiet and distant. I hope the pet sitter is doing good. The wish wasn't exactly directed to you, but it was just a sleepy thought that Cove had unleashed upon the world at large, but he still agreed. I hope so too. Cove still kept fish after all these years, delightful colorful things in huge aquariums. He spent a lot of time when he waited to relax just watching them swim. You'd also adopted pets who loved you dearly. Yeah, I'm just gonna have a cat and a dog. Your home was a lovely place full of critters that both of you cared for. That was why, with both of you gone, it had been important that you find a decent pet sitter. Cove's anxiety about leaving them hadn't subsided. Over the vacation, you had called him a few times texting the pet sitter and asking about his fish. I'm also a little worried. It'll be okay. You're even more tense than Cove. It'll be okay. Cove turned his head to you, the nervousness still coming off despite his exhaustion. I know what you mean, but you chose that person for a reason. You trust them. But they're all fine. They just miss you. Cove smiled and appreciative of your comfort. You nodded in satisfaction. Mission accomplished. Cove yawned wildly. He seemed confused at the magnitude of it. He groggily blinked at you. I think it's time for bed. You squinted at your wrist as if looking at a watch. Yeah, it's bedtime o'clock. The two of you got changed and brushed your teeth. In no time at all, both of you were cozy and ready to sleep. After that, you flopped onto your side of the shared bed. Cove headed over to his side and he felt the mattress dip under his weight. You tucked yourself under the covers and Cove snuggled in closer to the middle. You turned on your side to face him and scooted slightly closer. Your noses almost touched, and Cove watched you with a soft expression on his face. Cove gently spoke, his words like a lullaby.
Good night.
Night. Cove's eyes fluttered shut, and he let out a contented sigh. There was a warmth from Cove's body next to you. He was right there. His presence was comforting, perfect for lulling you to sleep. His presence was alluring. You really wanted your hands on him. Beep! Your hand drifted over to Cove's, and you ran your fingers up his arm, across his shoulder, and finally to his face. Cove trembled at the gesture. You cradled his cheek, and his eyes opened slightly to peek at you, unsure. Are you tired? As nice as it was to be near him, you understood he might not be in the mood. You wouldn't mind if you both just went to sleep instead. Cove mumbled into the hotel blanket.
I mean...
Not anymore. Do I need to censor this? Your eyebrow lifted. He flushed as the growing excitement replaced any previously held plans to rest. He leaned forward and lightly kissed his lips. He pecked you back affectionately. You could feel a smile in his affection. He rolled slightly so now he was fully on his side and he had better range of motion. With the new freedom of his arm, he reached over to stroke the back of your head. When the first kiss ended, he immediately started another and then another. Cove stopped running his fingers down your hair to hold your head closer. You broke apart satisfied. Y'all, should I keep going? I'm just gonna. Oh! Oh, I see. I see where this is going. Okay. Okay. Alright, I'm just gonna, like, keep going until it starts to get really, really raunchy. I mean, I'm still gonna keep playing this game, but I'm gonna, like, censor it, like, go to the VTubing station when it gets, like, really, really, like, raunchy. Which I highly doubt it is, but, you know, like, you know, sex stuff. Sex. I'm just gonna, yeah. Tangled your legs across Cove. You need to get even closer. He twisted his arms around your back and kissed the corner of your mouth. I feel like I shouldn't be reading this right now. Oh, we're just gonna keep going. Oh god. Oh god. Well, we're at the point of no return, boys. We saw his underwear. Let's go. You snaked your arms around Cove and pulled him as close to you as you could. You savored the heat of his body against you. You pressed into Cove as long as you could, managed before needing air. You responded just as desperately. I'm gonna grab onto his shirt. You tugged and pulled at Cove's soft pajamas. It stretched under your fingers. Cove started to run a hand through your hair again, sweetly carding through the strands. It was a nerve-ending reassurance that he was there and he cared about you. Listen, y'all, I haven't had sex in 2 years and I have no idea how this works, so we're just gonna hope for the best. I'm gonna pull his ear. You pressed your chest against his and tugged with his earlobe, peppering it with soft little bites. Cove spoke rapidly, inaudible words against the crook of your neck. And I kissed down his neck. You bent over Cove, the covers were wrapping around you, and kissed all the way across the side of his neck. Cove squirmed under your touch and made a new pleased noise with every touch. He's such a fucking switch. I love him. I'm gonna grab his butt. You slid your hand down his back, lingering and caressing as you please. However, your touch had a purpose, and you kept going until you grabbed his ass. A shiver went through him, and he gripped your pajamas harder. You smiled at the curve of his lips. I'm guessing Cove wouldn't mind pegging. I feel like he wouldn't mind pegging one bit. Pressed your foreheads together affectionately. Cove happily looked back at you before he bent his torso so that he was in a position more over you. He kissed you and ran his tongue. Oh, whoa, I'm gonna skip that. Yeah, I'm gonna skip that. I'm just gonna skip that. That's a wee-woo, too far, bruh. Cove twisted his head toward his pillow and squished his face into it, letting out a sigh. He smiled and he snuggled up against him, both of you starting to settle from the heated moment. Cove's face remained pressed to the pillow, and you watched his chest rise and fall visibly with his deep inhales, but his arms stayed around you, holding you close. When his breathing slowed, he shifted back over and met your eyes. Cove nuzzled his cheek against yours lovingly and whispered, "Really shouldn't stay up all night, huh?" "No! I want sex!" You accepted Cove's judgment. He was right. You both needed sleep for tomorrow. But sex! You curled up comfortably in each other's arms, ready to actually settle down for the night. Your eyes fell closed sometime after. You were not sure exactly when, only the fact that they were now too heavy to open. Felt a mixture of bitter and sweet emotions. You were happy to be here, but sad it was ending. There was a relief that you would soon be in your own home again, but also wondering when you could return here. There were many more feelings swirling in your head that hadn't been crystallized into thoughts yet. Paradoxically, you felt nice, but also confused. But then also nice from the confusion. In the back of your mind, you realized that you really must be tired. Unsurprisingly, your exhaustion did not give you too much time to muse on your emotions, and in what felt like seconds, you were already dreaming. The dreams dancing around your head became fragmented and faded until you couldn't remember a thing about them at all. You were growing more and more of the real world. You woke up on your own. The alarm you set woke you up. Cove was gently waking you. Cove woke me up because I'm not a morning person. You woke up feeling enveloped by warmth. Humming happily, you felt Cove's fingers trail up your arm. You opened your eyes with a smile. Groggily, you struggled to keep your eyes half open. You pouted and squeezed your eyes tight. Closing your eyes again, you snuggled into Cove. Yeah, this one. You nuzzled into his chest, letting out a delighted sigh. The warmth of your breath sent a shiver through his body. You wrapped your arms around him, holding him there. Not that Cove minded too much. He happily held you back. The sleepy morning couldn't last too long, though, and eventually you felt Cove's thumb running circles into your shoulder, trying to ease you back awake.
It's okay.
I don't want to leave either, but it's got to be done. We have to get up, Yui. Once we get past today, we can spend as much time in bed together as you want, okay? Delighted, you nuzzled your cheek into him again. You could feel his fingers aimlessly drawing squiggles and circles on your skin. I like the sound of that. You sat up fully with a big yawn, stretching your back and then your arms and lastly your neck before accepting the day. The blanket fell to the side while you swung your legs over to the side of the bed. A part of it almost got caught on your foot, but you kicked it away. Cliff slipped out of bed and on the opposite side. The day would be your last day in Sunset Bird. The only thing you had planned was some family time in the old neighborhood. You figured you'd see where the day took you from there. Yawning again, you glance over at your clothes. There's just one more day to live out of your bag. I'm really looking forward to having my full wardrobe again. I don't have anything clean left, but oh well. Hey Cove, is there anything you'd like to see me in today? You simply started sorting through your pile for something to put on. I'm gonna ask Cove. No, you look nice in whatever you wear. You always do. You knew from the tone of his voice that Cove was sincere, and his praise warmed your chest. Alright, let's get things going. Our families are waiting. Nodding, you and Cove swiftly finished getting ready in the small hotel room. As soon as you had your stuff together, you were ready to go. You were off. During the ride there, you and Cove decided to visit his dad's house first this time. When he got dropped off, Cove eagerly hopped out into the street with his eyes locked on his father's condo. Your gaze fell on your boyfriend. He stood in the middle of the street where you grew up together, while the summer sun made him shine. Though he was the brightest light in your eyes no matter what. It was a beautiful thing. You knew you had to propose before you left Sunset Bird once more. No, I'm not gonna be the one to propose. He's gonna be the one that proposes. I'm not doing that. It was a beautiful thing. You wouldn't give up a single second of your time with Cove. Meeting him there, you were looking forward to how today's chapter would unfold. Cove strode up to his old front door and casually flung it open without bothering to knock once again. You followed at his sides as he poked his head in. You closed the door behind you both. Hello. You found Cliff and Kyra in the kitchen, getting breakfast ready. Kyra was cutting an apple while Cliff was watching a frying pan sizzle. Cove's parents waved from across the room, not straying from their tasks. Good morning, you two. Yeah, morning and hello to you. Hope you two slept well.
Thanks.
Thanks for swinging by. You're more than welcome to join us for breakfast. If you haven't already eaten, of course. We haven't yet, though. Even if we had, there's always room for more. Kyra chuckled. She put down the knife she had in her hand so that all her attention could be on her son. You're still my giant growing baby boy. Mom, please. Kyra didn't pay Cove's whining any mind. Instead, she put a finger up to her lips as she thought, her eyes on you and then glimpsing towards a window.
What do you think?
I wonder, do you think your family's eaten yet, Yui? I'm not sure. Cove and I came over here first. Your eyes flickered over to the clock on your oven. Given the time, your moms may have eaten or they could be having a slower morning. It was a coin toss either way. Well, give them a call. They could come over. Cove nodded, a sage expression on his face. Making them breakfast is the least we could do after how much food I ate at their house growing up.
Right.
True, bud. Very true. Alright. You took out your phone even though your moms both had cells for years. The house number was the first one you had memorized as a kid and the first entry on your contacts list. As the call connected, you tapped the speaker button. You figured it would be easier if everyone could hear what was going on. You heard a click and familiar static.
Hello.
Hello, Yui. It's nice to hear from you. Hey, Ma. Good morning. I'm across the street right now, and Cove's the only one me to invite everyone to breakfast. Do you want to come over? That sounds delightful. Pam and I can do that. Liz and Lee should be able to make it too. Would that be fine? Cliff took a step forward and spoke loudly so that his voice could be picked up. It definitely would be. The more the merrier.
Marvelous.
We may have gotten together for dinner last night, but there's no law that we can't do it again for breakfast today. Enjoy the company while you can is what I think. Ma giggled, and you could hear some faint rustling over the phone. Thank you. I'll let them know and we'll be right over. Cliff gave a thumbs up. Cove shook his head with amusement. Dad just gave a thumbs up. I'm telling you, since you can't see him over the phone. Kyra snorted and Ma's laughter rang out. Filling the kitchen, Cliff switched the thumbs up hand to instead scratch the back of his neck. Well, it sounds like we'll see you soon. Goodbye for a little while. You could feel her smile from her voice. Bye, Ma. You ended the call with a satisfying tap of the red button. Cliff's eyes wandered around the space. We better get cooking.
Sounds good.
I can help. Me too. No way, your guess. Kyra and I have got this. She grinned. There was something playful in the twist of her lips.
Right.
I couldn't have said it better myself, Cliff. I've been in your spot before. There's no choice but to accept it. Cove sighed, but from the sparkle in his eyes, you could see that he was entertained. Fine, we'll just hang out over here, I guess. Good. Cove walked over to the living room and gestured at the couch. They both took a seat, getting a comfortable spot to wait for food and family. Cove tilted toward his parents with his chin, then shook his head with a gentle smile, silently asking if he could believe this. All he had was a silent shrug. Time passed, filled with light chatting. Cove kept a careful watch on his parents' culinary progress, and teasing kept a running commentary. Oh, Dad added another pinch of salt. I wonder if this was a good idea. Cliff had to raise his voice to project over to the living room. He sounded very amused. It's funny that you, of all people, are commenting on my salt usage. We were both born and raised in salt water. Besides, I'm sure you remember back when you were about 12 and tried to make Cliff flushed slightly, but his smile remained as bright as ever. Do you really want to start talking about cooking mistakes, Dad? Because I remember a lot of things too. Like, what about that chowder that was supposed to be a pie? What? Cove and his family were quite a show to listen to. He chimed in occasionally, but mostly he provided the laugh track. Eventually, there was a rhythmic knock on the door.
Oh.
That's them! He said it loudly for his parents' benefit. He nodded and got up to greet your family. When he opened the door, surprisingly, there were no moms. Terry stood in front with Miranda at his side. Derek waved from behind them. Hey yo! The friends are here! Let's go! Hey buddies, we came to see you two before you left. The plan would have been to go over to Yui's house next if you weren't here. Luckily, you two aren't too hard to find. What he said, and hi. Ko burst into happy laughter. His brows were high in surprise, not unlike how he looked after unwrapping a nice present. Wow, thanks for coming. Hello. Kara's voice carried through the house from the kitchen. Cliff likewise projected. Great, the whole gang will be here. You heard the sound of a cabinet open and shut. A pan clattered and the faucet turned on.
Are we interrupting something?
My parents, sister, and cousin are coming over for breakfast. They should be here in a few minutes. Yeah, but my dad always makes a ton of food anyway. It's the problem for you guys to join. Cove waved off their concern before pausing with a thoughtful hum. The only problem is, do we have enough places for all these people to sit? He peered back into the house and started counting the dining room table, chairs, and bar stools. 5, 6. Cliff interrupted when Ko began trying to use his fingers to connect the different chairs to different guests.
No worries.
Some people can squish together on the sofas. It'll be fine. This really is going to be a party. Well, I'd be happy to accept the invitation.
Yeah.
You'd have to be crazy to skip out on this.
Thanks.
Thank you for making room. We're really glad that you came. Your three friends finally piled into the house. Before they had a chance to settle in, the doorbell rang. Only Miranda had sat down.
All right.
Now that has to be them. People laughed as he walked back over to the door and opened it up. He was right this time. It was your parents, Liz and Lee, all crowded on the front steps. They squinted into the house and were surprised at just how many greetings were said. The sheer force of the chorus of hellos was impressive.
What?
How'd they beat us here? How early did Yui call you? We're literally across the street. Terry snorted at your sister's confusion. He seemed quite pleased with himself. We were surprised. We caught ourselves.
Cool.
Cliff smirked as he adjusted the settings on the stovetop. It's a little more crowded than expected, but we're making it work. Cove led the final group to complete the picture inside, and they took the chance to greet you, along with everyone else. When the excited energy buzzing around the table started to calm, you had a second to truly appreciate this view, the most important people in your life all together again. It still felt too good to be true to have everyone here. And then, you noticed that Kyra stood back up. She clapped her hands up once in a satisfying smack.
Anywhoosies.
I hate to interrupt, but I thought you'd want to know that the food's done cooking. Cliff crossed the floor to place a pile of silverware on the table, and then he dropped the stuff off on other surfaces around the rest of the living room. When he was done, he gestured toward the food.
Okay.
The plates are in the kitchen. Serve yourselves and sit wherever you'd like. The guests happily formed a line, and the meal was steadily passed around. Before long, each person claimed a seat in the Holden living room area. Some at the tables, others on the kitchen island, and some seated at the couches. Conversations trickled across the various clusters of friends as everyone dug in. Ko finished his plate in record time with a pleased sigh. He pushed his fork down and surveyed the room. This is really cool, just how we're getting to do this kind of thing. I like this too, Cove. I hope we'll be able to make this happen again. Of course, there'll always be more reasons to get the gang back together in the future. Yes, the two of you might even dare to celebrate your yearly anniversary every year! The smirk on Liz's face grew only wider as your moms giggled at her teasing. Ma shook her head, chuckling softer now.
Shush.
Liz, shush.
True.
Honestly, you just might. You made a good point. It does come around every year. You should. Seriously, you deserve a big celebration for your magical day. The kids are right. You've got a lot of people who want to appreciate you. You've got to give them a chance. It's true. I know I have a lot to thank you for. There were more nods of agreement around the room, and your moms took each other's hands for support. Neither were expecting so much encouragement. We'll think about it. She'll think about it, and I'll tell Lonnie to stop thinking so hard so she doesn't agree. Pam!
Good.
Good job, Mom. Now with all that settled, let us continue to enjoy this perfect gathering. Agreed. Actually, you want to know how, who else being here would make this extra perfect? This one. As amazing as this was, you couldn't help but think of absent faces, and second, everyone curiously turned their attention to you. Shiloh, Jeremy, Baxter, never mind. Jeremy. Baxter. Cove turned to you with a genuinely thoughtful look. You rubbed at his forearm while he composed his thoughts. I think I'd be up for seeing him again. It'd be kind of interesting to see what Baxter would be like now. Yeah, I think so too. He'd at least have a ball with everyone gathered today. Yeah, Baxter was that cool guy with the eyes, shirt, and the fancy rental car, right? I liked him. He was pretty nice. Shiloh's another person who I would have invited. A loud snort came from Liz before she slapped a hand over her mouth. Her shoulders trembled with laughter at your suggestion.
No.
Oh, you. I'm really not so sure about that, but I guess I am a little curious about what ended up happening to him. I bet he's doing well. He was a bright kid. Cove shrugged, listening to the threads of conversation. When he caught his gaze, he smiled softly, and you hoped that wherever Shiloh was, that he was doing as well as you, Cove, and Liz. You left things there. Fuck Jeremy. All my homies hate Jeremy. There is a playfulness in Kyra's stare as she scanned the room. She slowly placed her index finger on her chin. Now that I think of it, there's something I haven't done in a while. Eyebrows were raised at Kyra's incomplete thought. She was wordlessly urged to continue. Kyra didn't hesitate. Look through all the photos of Cliffless here. Wouldn't that be fun for all of us? What? Mom, why would you say that? Practically all those photos are of me.
Very cute.
And that's why. Embarrassing my baby boy is just one of the perks of being a mom. Exactly. You have to do. If you don't, she's not doing her job. Much to Cove's dismay, his mom was thoroughly entertained at his outburst. She winked in your direction. Meanwhile, Cliff eagerly stood up with a wave of proud affection for his son and completely missed Kyra's teasing intent.
Oh,
I think that's a great idea. Anyone else interested in the pictures?
Yeah.
I am! Lise shot her hand up before Cliff could even take a full step. Terry and Miranda snuck each other a glance before nodding with matching grins. That sounds swell.
That's fantastic.
That'd be lovely, Cliff. Mom tried to hide her amusement behind her hand, but she couldn't stop the snicker that slipped out. Oh boy. I've seen all of them before, but they never got old. I went to see them. You nonchalantly nodded. Poor Cove. Everyone loves to pick on you. I haven't seen them all before, but they never get old. Really? Ooh, I bet there's some real gems in there. I hope there's baby pics. Don't worry, you won't be disappointed. Cove buried his face in his hands and sighed slowly, shoulders deflated in defeat. Fine, we can take a look. Everyone happy with picture time? Yay!
Fun.
Yes! They both excitedly raised a fist in victory. Smaller cheers from your friends and family worked their way around the room, and even you bounced up to your feet excitedly. Cliff flipped open his faded album of physical pictures. He held it up to his face, the corners of his eyes crinkled, and though the book covered much of his face, you were certain he was smiling fondly. But he didn't keep it to himself long. Laying the family album on the dining table, you and the rest of the party gathered around to get a peek. Oh, he's a baby! Oh, he's such an angry baby! He's so cute! Aww! The first picture on the first page was Baby Cove in a cute little onesie. There were several coos and alls in the group, and Cliff's eyes were shining with tears as he sniffled. He's grown so much. Cove was such a cute kid. That's my darling angel. Nice onesie, Cove. How precious. Even as a baby, you looked unimpressed. You smiled, enjoying the view. That's my darling angel. You met Cove's eyes with the fondest smile, and you saw the second his breath caught. His mouth twitched until he let himself accept the compliment. Cove held himself even taller, pleased and uplifted by your comment. You reached out, placing a hand on his arm, giving us a gentle squeeze, feeling as grateful as always to be with him. Thanks, Dewey. After breakfast and the photo showcase, everyone decided to stick around. Hanging around Mr. Holden's house turned into taking a walk around the neighborhood, and then for lunch you switched over to your mom's condo. It really was a good time, enjoying each other's company, but eventually the sun began to set. There really was nothing else to delay your friends and family from going home. Inside your mom's house, the home you had been raised in, the group was taking their time saying their goodbyes. It was tough for you, your family, your friends. You knew what was weighing on the mood. It might be some time before you see one another again. It was a pleasure having you all here, and you're welcome to come around again anytime. Ma wrapped an arm around Mom with a light chuckle. Mom leaned her head gently into her wife, and they both beamed.
I appreciate it.
Absolutely. I know we're all adults with our own hectic lives, but we appreciate the time taken to visit. Snorting, Liz crossed her arms. She leaned one hip out to the side while her lips curled teasingly. You make it sound like this was such a struggle. Some of these people still live here, and it was a vacation for everyone else. Even so, it was very thoughtful, and I hope everyone has a safe trip home. Kyra clapped a hand on Cliff's shoulder. He was puzzled as she leaned in so he could hear her. That means you too. It's dangerous crossing the street. Remember to look both ways. Hey now. Yeah, good luck with all the important grown-up things. I'm sure you'll have to do when you're all out of here. Definitely. I'll give updates next time something exciting happens, or something lame so I can vent about it. How nice. I'm glad Lee won't be forgetting the little people. Never ever. I'll keep in touch too.
Very
You better. Well, me and Randy aren't going far, so we can keep an eye on the town for the rest of ya. Nothing will get past us. Right, we'll make sure everything is okay. No need to worry about all that.
Thanks.
That's kind of you. Miranda and Terry gave each other pleased smiles, already committing to their self-appointed test. Derek scratched the back of his head, wearing a pensive look. It's always sad when I have to leave this town. It happens too often, but at least there will be people looking up for Sunset Bird. That makes me feel better about it. After a pause, Mr. Holden gave the younger folks a thumbs up.
Great.
You've got a lot to be proud of and a lot to be looking forward to. Well said, Cliff. I'm thankful that I've been privileged to witness the growth of you've gone over the years. You've each matured beautifully. Cove was touched by his parents' words and struggled to come up with something to follow. Yeah, it's been so good seeing everyone. No one has taken a step yet, and yet you couldn't put this off any longer. It was time to say goodbye. Goodbye, I'll see you all again. I'll miss you. This was fun. Thanks for being here. I'm so glad we got to do this. I'll miss you.
Oh, thanks.
We'll miss you too, kiddo. Very much. Mom wrapped you in a big hug, and then you felt the weight of another person in her arms. Realized Liz got pulled in too. We'll be back soon enough that you'll be kicking us back out. I don't think that would happen. I'd like to see you try to push it, though. It'd be funny. She held you both tighter for another moment before letting go. Afterwards, there was more sniffling and hugs, a lot of hugs. Then people started trailing out into the streets, seeing others off. Your friends and family got into their cars and left the neighborhood. By the time things had fully settled, you realized that the sun had set. Either you and Cove decided on having a car pick you both up. Neither of you wanted to bother your parents after such a long day. It would be a little while longer before it would be there, though. It was the right choice, as both sets of parents shot you with weary looks. The four seemed ready to call it a night. It didn't take either of you or Cove very long to assure them that it was okay to head home and go to bed. With one more round of goodnight and goodbyes, your families returned to the condos. And then, the only people left on the street were you and Cove. Cove closed his eyes, humming happily while he was waiting for it to pass. He stared up at the sky. Cove's hands were in his pockets, and his shoulders relaxed when he caught your attention with a tilt of his head.
So...
Can you guess what I'm thinking? Well, at that moment, you were in the neighborhood you grew up in together with some time to spare. You rolled your shoulders back and pretended to crack a few of your knuckles. An amused look fidgeted on Cove's face while we observed you silently. I'm guessing we're going to the hill, since we haven't done that in a while. Could you perhaps be thinking about if the fireflies are out now?
Right.
Right. Do you want to go to the Poppy Hill before you leave? I knew it, boys. I know my man so well. Always. There was an eager bounce in your step as you and Cove crossed over toward the hill behind your mom's house. Side by side, you stared out at the view in awe. As you imagined, the hill was dyed with the glowing firefly light. It perfectly reflected the memories of childhood held closely in your mind. Cove sighed contentedly seeing them across the hill, weaving in around the blades of grass and the stars above. Cove cocked his head to the side before his expression twisted playfully. When he met your eyes, you were about to be proud about what was on his mind when he took off running. I bet I'll catch one first. Oh, it's on! You laughed and watched him try to catch one instead. You cheered him on. You went chasing after the next firefly that caught your eye. Oh, it's on! Kicking up a bit of dirt and leaves, you bolted into the opposite direction after a few fireflies that captured your attention. The first one that flitted into your range, you dove for it. Did you get one? It escaped between your fingers, but that didn't dim a second of your fun. You shook your head, trying to find your next target. The next one, I can feel it. Unless you're feeling my future victory. Out of the corner of your eye, you watch Cove get spun nearly around, following one that was staring out just out of reach. Chuckling, you crouched down low, searching the air. The pursuit for fireflies continued until a handful had been caught. Cove crossed over to you with a bright grin that could rival every twinkling bug and star around you. Cupped between both his hands, Cove carefully held a firefly. The corners of his mouth twisted before a few giggles escaped him, and you knew that feeling well, the way the firefly would buzz around tickling the palms of your hands. Cove's eyelids fluttered open, meeting yours. He watched you with a complicated mix of emotions, heavy with the weight of 15 years of history, of memories. It's really a relief that I got to see the fireflies. This trip wouldn't have felt complete without it. Yeah, I think you're right. You spot another firefly lowering onto your eye level before looping up to the top of Cove's head. It landed right on his hair and he smirked. What? You have a very tiny firefly hat. I do? Before he could answer, the firefly took off and disappeared into the night. He gave it a tiny wave goodbye. Well, that didn't last very long. That's too bad. I'll remember them as my tiny hat forever. Me too. Taking a deep breath, Cove held your eye. He appeared to be conflicted about what he wanted to say next, and he waited for him to make his choice. It's so strange not to live here anymore. Most of my life, neither of us were ever really away from Sunset Bird. Well, unless one of us went on a trip somewhere. Or when both our families took trips together. Remember that? He chuckled, losing himself to fond reminiscing. You couldn't help but match his grin. I like that road trip one a lot, though. I don't think we could all fit squished into that RV again. We're way too big. Laughing, Cove shook his head. His brow creased the longer he sat with a thought spinning in his brain. Those visits back with my mom, I remember what a big deal they felt like then. To be away from her here without anyone else coming for a whole few weeks. Oh, how little I knew. Hey, what did you used to tell your mom about me when we were on those trips to see her? We were so innocent then, you nodded. The first one. A little off-kilter, Cove hadn't been expecting that question at all. Both his eyebrows raised, and a part of you wondered if he had spoken gibberish instead. Honestly, I've been wondering about it since I was 13. Kyra always kept the details to herself, and he never said a word either. Mostly I just tell her about the times we hung out, and since you were obviously there when things happened, I didn't have to tell you too. That's true. But I would be really enthusiastic about it when I was telling her what happened, cause you know how you were an important friend to me, the time we spent together was important. So I definitely would have been embarrassed that my mom told you that any of that. I really appreciate that she kept it to herself. Oh, I think that's nice. All of it. Thanks. After that, Cove became quiet, simply gazing into your face. The way the lights around sparkled in his eyes reminded you of moonlight, reflecting off the waves into the ocean. There is a depth to it that you could hardly grasp. A part of you felt compelled to speak, to do something, but you were entrenched. Cove held you completely in place as much as the firefly. His next words came out as a whisper. I love fireflies. Every time I see them, it makes me happy. It makes me think of you. The lasting eye contact finally broke as Cove let his eyes shift out towards the hill. Fireflies and you are linked together in my head so strongly because of all the times we spent together with them, and because they're kind of like the feelings I have for you on the inside made real. A soft, warm light that flutters and tingles all around me. He faced you completely once more. His eyes were now glossy and even fuller with abundant affection. Aww. Cove then opened up his hands, holding the firefly settled there towards you. He was wholeheartedly offering it to you. Honestly, I thought he was gonna fucking propose for a second. Because this would be perfect for him to propose, just saying. The significance of the gesture wasn't lost on you after you confessed what Firefly Shrine meant to him. Suddenly struck with emotions, the words cracked in Cove's throat. He smiled wryly and continued on.
I remember.
That night, the summer when I moved, where we all went to catch fireflies, was one of the first truly, completely, purely happy moments in Sunset Bird. Even when I had good days back then, I was so sensitive I usually ended up getting upset over something at some point. I'm guessing you can remember that. He chuckled softly at himself, and your mouth curved into a smile. Sure, Lizzie got kinda bossy near the end of the mini-adventure, but at that time it didn't matter. I wanted to run around and play with you and her and Shiloh too. I wanted to be there. It was amazing. And it was thanks to you that I got my first firefly. There's really no one better to have done that, huh? Considering, all the things I said about how I think of fireflies. You've given me so many wonderful, heart-aching feelings. I can see the image of your face on that night 15 years ago. Tiny and precious, smiling at me brightly as clearly as I see you the way you are right now. Right in front of me in this moment. And you weren't there when it happened. But even when I got back home, to a place I didn't think was my home yet, I was still excited. I told Dad about the cool things we did, and he listened to everything I said. It all meant a lot to me. I'll never forget it. He closed his eyes, sorting through all the emotions you were certain were swirling around inside him. You know, that night years ago? The one after the Orca event where I snuck into your room with a firefly? I wanted to tell you what I said here.
I'm always like this.
About what fireflies meant and about the feelings I had for you, but I didn't. I couldn't. Not directly, but at least it was implied, a little bit. He shifted on his feet, remembering his prior shyness brought out a sheepish contentness in Cove during the present. Then Cove's stuttering laughter burst out from the tension. It's pretty lucky for me that you decided to do it yourself. I cannot even describe how shocked I was when that actually happened. It was just like you knew all the words I hadn't been able to speak. But His nervous tingles finally settled out as a more contemplative tone came to his voice. This time it's my turn. There's more I want to say tonight. He had been speaking to you so familiarly, so sweetly, but then his tone became hard. It was more serious than you'd ever heard in your long history together. Yui. I promised you I'd always be there whenever you wanted. I meant it then. I still mean it now. I mean it even more than ever. Cove. He may not have said it directly, but you had gotten the message clearer than it had been shouted from the rooftops, and Cove knew it. You beamed wildly, you covered your mouth with a hand, your breath caught you in your throat, your eyes began to water, you just began to bawl, you stared back stunned. I'm gonna fucking cry because I'm a little bitch and this game's almost over. Cove's legs shook despite talking straight. His entire body had gone rigid. He winced while trying to force his joints to actually move. Your feet remained locked in place, churning in your own sea of emotions, giving Cove the time he needed. Ultimately, Cove graciously dropped down onto both his knees with a muted thud. His head was hung low in embarrassment as he clung onto your dress to stop from falling over entirely. Cove mumbled that you thought was an apology, though how he carried himself meant it was directed at the ground. He still couldn't move from that spot. Keeping a tight grip, he was able to awkwardly shift a leg lower so that he was being propped up on just one knee. There was a pause. And then he looked up at you with eyes as blue and wide as the sea and just as wet. He released your clothes to instead put his hands over his heart. Yui. In a small, fragile voice he spoke.
I love you.
You mean so much to me. I don't even know what life would be without you. I'm going to cry. I'm going to fucking cry. I'm not ready for this game to be over. I love Cove so fucking much. Tears fell heavily, and the words dropped out as painfully. I'm sorry. Have I ever been able to handle a major romantic moment in our relationship well? You don't have to answer that. He laughed breathily. It was almost more of a wheeze. I never made things easy, especially when growing up. Life was so hard for me, and so I made things hard for everybody else. But you're always so good to me, no matter what. And I've loved you for so many years. He continued to sniffle as he made a false continuations of intelligible stammering. Eventually, Cove found what he wanted to say next. Thank you for being my girlfriend. Aww, I love him so much. I love him. Thank you for standing up to Lizzie when she would be so mean to me. Thank you for putting up with me when I'd panic about stuff outside of my control. Thank you for letting me share the loft instead of having to sleep on the floor when we went on that trip with our families. Thank you for never minding when I'd sneak over to your house through the window. Cove's eyelids squeezed shut in an attempt to stop himself from rambling further. You couldn't help but chuckle about how precious he was. You had to hide your face bashfully, you continued to cry, you didn't know what to do with yourself. You had to stop yourself from interrupting, you were so touched already but wanted to finish. I'm gonna hide my face because I'm a shy bitch. Cove's outpouring of gratitude accumulated in a final piece of appreciation.
Thanks for waiting for me.
Thank you for being such a patient person. I know I kept you waiting for so long. He took in a slow, controlled breath and then, without stuttering or stopping, said the words out loud.
Will you marry me?
I need a minute. I will. There's nothing what I want more. Yes! I'm not reading anything else. I'm saying yes. Cove collapsed forward, catching himself with his hands before landing face first into the grass. The poppies around his face fluttered from his grand sigh of relief. Oh my god, thank you! Eyes filled with fresh tears, he lifted his head back up to smile at you with all the love in the world. Thank you. I know that's all I've been saying this whole time. I'm sorry, but just thank you for being here and for being the one I get to be with. Thank you for proposing! I knew this would be a good night to propose, and I was right. I called it. Somehow all you could think was that it was him, Cove Holden, the man you loved, and now the person you were going to marry. I love you. No, thank you for everything. No, you never had to apologize for that. You're so wonderful. Don't worry, this was perfect. You nodded reassuringly. No, thank you for everything. Then, I'm gonna smooch him! You got down the grass and kissed him. I'm gonna kiss him on the ground. You couldn't hold back any longer. You launched yourself at him and knocked Cove over on impact. He lay flat on his back now. His eyes were wide, but swiftly pulled you against him, as close as he could get, desperate to feel you. You leaned forward and kissed your fiancé. He kissed you back lovingly, and you could feel the smile on his face. The place where you met, where you grew, where you fell in love was now the place where you shared your life together truly began. Your eyes drifted close to yet yourself another experience, to anchor yourself in this moment, and hold on for as long as possible. You, the both of you, never wanted to let go. You were certain of it. The rest of your days would be spent side by side. It was all you'd hoped for. When the thrilling excitement of your new engagement relaxed back into the more familiar style of gentle comfort your relationship brought, Cove stood up. He lifted you along with him. Oh, and I do have a ring too. If you want that, it's just, you know, sentimentality. The firefly felt better to me. That's adorable. That's adorable. You instantly laughed. This was exactly like him. You felt thrilled hearing he got you an engagement ring. You shook your head affectionately at his antics. None of that mattered to you, but you appreciated the consideration. I'm gonna laugh. Cove chuckled bashfully, picking a stray strand of grass off his pants. You were thrilled by the turn of events that unfolded here. Your dream had been for Cove to propose, and he never disappointed you. Suddenly, Cove's now wide eyes snapped yours. How are we gonna tell people? We're leaving early in the morning, and it's really late now. Should we try talking before we go? Two of you put your heads together to come up with some kind of decision for this predicament.
Maybe.
You should try calling your mom's house phone. If they hear that, maybe they'd have really gone to bed yet. If they don't, they probably won't even know it rang. Calling their cell phones might wake them up, and I could do the same for your dad's house. Yeah, that could work. In sync, you and Cove dug out your cells and began to call the respective homes of your families. Cove set to the side as his father presumably picked up. You couldn't pay attention for his words for so long as Mom answered your call next.
Hello.
Neon Posse residence, how can I help you? Hi Mom, it's me. I wanted to see if you're awake without bothering you if you'd gone to bed. Yeah? You were such a thoughtful person. I'm impressed. She chuckled at her own comment while getting quieter. You could tell she was pulling her face away from the receiver. Lonnie, Yui's on the phone. When she spoke again, it came in loud and clear. She's coming on over.
Oh!
Ah! You twisted your head to the side after hearing Cove's exclamation and saw him tap on the screen to switch things to speaker mode. Say hi, Dad and Mom. Yui's here, and so are her mom, sort of. They're on the phone, too. You quickly followed Cove's move, and you let your moms be on the speaker. Hey, Neon Posse family. Good evening, ladies. Hello, it's nice to hear from you. Agreed, even though it's unexpected. What's happening, kiddo? Well, the thing is, wait, I'm gonna call Liz. Pam, get your phone. You can call Lee. Oh, they already know. They already know. Moms. What? You don't have to do that. I want to, sweetie. This is news they're going to enjoy hearing, isn't it? I'm certain they won't mind. I mean...
Alright.
In that case, Kyra and I could call your friends. I've got their numbers. Seriously? Of course. They've had to call me plenty of times to try reaching you whenever you misplaced your phone or forgot to charge it. Dad. Oh, that's perfect. You laughed nervously. You went rigid. Oh, that's perfect. Well, unexpected. Having everyone on the line would make sharing the news easy. Your parents got to work, leaving the old landline on what they used their cells to call Lee, Liz, Miranda, and Terry's apartment, and Derek respectively. Every call went through, and soon your whole main group was on the line, and they were expecting answers. There was no putting it off. I have an announcement. Shadow the Hedgehog is pissed on my fucking wife. He took his hedgehog Willie. No, I'm just kidding. Well, Cove's got an announcement. You just looked at Cove expectantly. Cove's got an announcement. He sputtered a string of syllables, and then he cleared his throat. All false starts he thought better of. You could feel his brain turning, Cove deciding the best way to approach this. His brows furrowed deep, and then, with his expression and tone serious, he finally got it out without a trace of hesitation. We're getting married. Yui and I are engaged. Cove reached over to take your hand as a physical sign of your union, even though no one could see it. It made him feel better. The hill filled with cheers of congratulations. You heard Terry's distinctive whoop, and your mom start to joyfully whisper to each other away from the receiver. They called that shit. Lee squealed and Kyra cooed. There was no confusion or no need to pause. Everyone in their life was immediately on board with your plans. Cove turned his head and beamed at you, excitement in his smile. It was coupled with a fond squeeze to your hand. You grinned back at him.
I'm so glad.
I'm so proud of you, Cove. The two of you are going to be happy, I'm sure of it. Dad. Cove sniffled, eyes wide and emotional. Yeah, I will be. Both of us will be. Kyra spoke up gently.
Thank you.
For being so wonderful to my baby, I'm lucky and grateful that you're going to be part of my life forever. Well put, Kyra. Yui's a keeper for sure. Your family couldn't stay quiet for long and began to chime in. I can't believe how grown up you are, but I couldn't be happier with how it all happened. Congratulations, Yui. You are one of the smartest cookies there are. You're making an amazing life for yourself.
Serious?
This is totally amazing. You're seriously getting married? It's like we're real adults and all that. Yeah, it'd almost be hard to believe that my baby sister's marrying a person. You know, if Cove wasn't such an obvious choice as a husband for you. Her tone turned abnormally gentle. You're doing good. Thanks for the positive rating.
You're welcome.
Your three friends had stayed silent. You believed that they were intentionally giving your families a chance to have a moment. Once they said their pieces, it didn't take long for your friends to jump into the conversation excitedly. Congratulations on the engagement. It's crazy how we're really at this point of our lives. Some days it feels like high school was yesterday.
So great.
You both are definitely Sunset Bird's best couple. You're damn right we are! Woo! Terry added on eagerly. You are the aspiration. I'm stoked that you're gonna be official. This is a big step. I'd say you're more than earned it with everything you've been through over the years. You both deserve to be with each other for the rest of your lives. Cove had appeared weepy before, but this sealed in. He cried. Everyone's words had built up and coalesced into Cove shedding the happiest tears he'd seen. Thank you. These were people you cared deeply about, and were so happy from your engagement it was heartwarming. Good luck, kiddos. You got a journey ahead of you. Cliff agreed with a chuckle. They've known each other for 15 years and already still haven't gotten sick of each other yet? How hard could making it work for the rest of their lives be?
It's no trouble.
For the two of them, not difficult at all. Thank you so much, everyone. I don't even know what to say. You all better come around again for the actual wedding. I'm impressed Cove didn't run away even once during this big life chance. You focus on taking in the moment. This one. You kidding me? I'll be the first one there. Liz snorted through her phone. I'll be there even if you forget to send me an invitation. You don't get to escape me that easily. Wait, is that your way of inviting us to your wedding? Cove glanced at you and shrugged. You didn't have a problem with it. It was efficient. Everyone on the call should be invited to the wedding anyway. Why am I surprised? Everyone started laughing. To your satisfaction, it seemed like they had already started planning to be guests. But ultimately, the night was growing late, and many phone calls all had to come to an end. After goodbyes were shared, you were left with just one another again in the quiet space of Poppy Hill. I think that was nice. Me too.
Well,
We have to go to the hotel now, huh? Yeah, I think I can do that. I'm not ready. Do we have to go? You nodded, you shook your head. I'm not ready. Oh. Cove awkwardly fidgeted with his hands at his sides, like he wasn't sure what he wanted to do with them. You bit the inside of your cheek because you weren't sure what to do with yourself either. Was there anything else you wanted to do while we're still here? I don't know, I know I don't want to leave yet. Corner of Cove's mouth pulled into a frown. You watched your shoulders slump with a sympathetic look.
don't worry about it.
It's okay, Yui. We've done a pretty good job booking things, I think. We've enjoyed this trip the best we could, right? You rubbed at his arm awkwardly, nervously waiting for your response. You sighed. Well, you do have a point, but it's still sad that we're leaving. I don't want today to end ever. You can always come back whenever you want to. We can try to make it work, I promise. Cove stood tall and studied you as his reassuring words sank in. You knew he meant every word, and you would believe him wholeheartedly. Okay. With Cove right there along with you, you made your way down the hill, with the same stars above trailing the way. Your last night in Sunset Bird was closing out. You were lost deep within a dream, adrift in the current of your unconscious mind. Cove was with you even there, his presence strong as your mind filtered from scene to scene, the logic of the consciousness world melting around you. Something jolted from you from your slumber, and the visions you'd constructed slipping away even as you scrambled to catch them. It had been a good dream. You opened your eyes to an unlit, unfamiliar ceiling. Your darkness permeated the room so thoroughly that you were still sure it was the middle of the night. As your eyes adjusted to what little light there was to catch onto, a smiling face cozied itself right above you. There he was. Good morning, Yui. The grin was bright enough to make it seem like maybe the sun had risen after all. Good morning. Wow, it's my dream come true, he said sarcastically. Oh, it's my dream come true, Yukud. What have you got up your sleeve today? Please stop being a morning person. You groaned as you grumpily could manage. Oh, it's my dream come true. Naturally, you weren't surprised to see him, but that didn't stop you from enjoying it every time. His expression softened at your voice, the tender affection in his gaze oblivious despite the dim space. You kissed him, you flicked his nose, you ruffled his hair, you pulled the covers over your head. Smooch! Propping yourself up on your elbows, you leaned in towards him. Cove read the intent in your movement and bent down, meeting you halfway in a kiss. Would you have preferred me to wake you up by tapping on the window? Yes, no, maybe. I preferred neither. You're so funny. Maybe. Cove simply smirked, amused by his own wit.
Come on.
I mean, you really should have expected this was gonna happen. I did. I was waiting for it. I'd hoped you might have outgrown it. Fine, shame on me because you got me more than once. I did. I was waiting for it. Good. Glad I didn't disappoint. I'm guessing you woke me up for some reason. Are you gonna ever let me know? Well, this is our last day here. Everyone might still be asleep, but if we get up now, we can at least see the neighborhood. Do you want to? Of course. With you, definitely. And the reason that you didn't tell me this plan last night is... Here we go, yet again. You just nodded. I doubt I have a choice here. With you, definitely.
All right.
Great. Then he held out one of those hands to help you get up. You took it, You took out both arms, wordlessly asking him to lift you up. You shuffled out of bed without assistance. I want him to carry me. Cove complied, crouching down to scoop you up before gently sending you down again. Before you could head out, you and Cove both need to get dressed. You did so quietly. Your straightness of the hour meant that your body seemed less coordinated than usual, each article of clothing a new puzzle, but you managed it. The two of you were eventually ready to head out into the wild world. Dawn still hadn't broken when you left the hotel, yet it was easy enough to get a ride down into Sunset Bird. Your journey was peaceful. You might have expected sleep to attempt to claim you once again, with the sky still so dark, but Cove's excited energy was infectious. Morning was finally starting to come over Sunset Bird as you arrived, almost like the sun itself wanting to be there to welcome you. Cove turned towards you, his eyes sparkling with anticipation. One more summer beach trip? You laughed, nodding to reassure him, as if there was any alternative now that you were here and he was looking at you so eagerly. Yeah, one more. You could have taken your time getting there, dawdling under the morning sun, or you could have taken a short walk at a regular pace, and both of those would have been just right for some other occasion, but this time, without either of you saying a word, you and Cove set off sprinting. The two of you tore gleefully down the street toward the beach, as excited and as ungainly as the kids you've once been. You were laughing with joy and at the absurdity of it all, being here at the break of dawn with the boy who'd once discovered on the nearby hills who never completely grew up. As if it was still early, you did your best to keep the noise down. To the side, you saw Cove covering his mouth to stifle his own giggles, similarly aware of the people sleeping on the calendars around you. You thought of what the mean old not-grandparents would have said if they could see you now. All you could do was continue running and stumbling down towards the beach, away from the residences and their sleeping occupants. It was only a few minutes before you arrived at the expansive ocean shore. Cove kicked off his shoes and strode right into the water, not stopping until his feet were entirely submerged and the wave tickled his ankles. You stood close by on the damp sand. You got in the water with him. After slipping your shoes off, you let the sea flow over you. It was cool against your skin, but not as cold as when the wave pulled back and your wet feet were exposed to the air again. Two of you stood there watching as the sun continued its ascent over the horizon. Silence fell between you until finally dawn had fully broken. Even then, Cove spoke in a whisper.
Wow.
I can't believe it's over. I can't either. How are we already at this point? It all went by too fast. Boy, you're really sounding like a kid again, he joked. I think it was good enough. You shrugged, you nodded. I can't either. A ghost of a smile crept over Cove's face, like the sun peeking out between clouds of an overcast day. Cove reached out and enveloped your hands in his, pressing your palms together tightly. Aww. The silence returned just for a second. I'm glad we came this morning, and that we came on this whole visit back.
I'm so glad.
But more than anything, I'm glad for ending up in this town in the first place, where I got to grow up with a really nice neighbor. I wouldn't have wanted any other life. I'm most grateful for meeting you too. I feel the same way, Space Cadet. Thank you. Thanks for being here, smiled at him. I feel the same way, Space Cadet. Cove looked over at you out of the corner of his eyes, not turning his face away from the sea. His expression was full of affection, from the gentle curve of a smile to his clear, contented brow. It was a stark contrast to the tears rolling down his cheeks.
I love you.
I love you. You counted yourself lucky. Even though you are leaving now, this place has given you so much that you carry with you wherever your life might take you. The memories you'd made, the lessons you learned, the people you'd built relationships with, you kept those pieces of your life in Sunset Bird forever. You stood with Cove, silently watching as bright rays swept away the last of the night shadows until the day truly arrived. Your spirits were high as the sun rose ever higher in the sky. Two of you had found yourselves meandering back to the neighborhood street on sandy feet, strolling down the path just as you'd done thousands of times before. This was then where it all started. You were compelled to look at the exact spot you'd first encountered Mr. Holden, sitting dejected on the curb. It wasn't like that anymore. Still, you couldn't forget the day it began, just as you couldn't believe what an adventure it led to. Things had never been the same since the moment, and you couldn't be happier for it. Your mental lingering on that meeting had turned physical, causing you to stop in your tracks. It was only when you heard Cove's voice calling your name that you remembered it when you realized what you had done. And what a present it was, a shining sun, a clear blue sky, and Cove by your side, all the most natural things in the world. So what's the next big step? You watched Cove, expectantly waiting for him to guide you forward from here. There was a crinkle around his eyes as he left. It's up to you now. Ooh, exciting, you're giving me too much power, I don't know, but I don't want it to be, you should pick, you claimed up. You're giving me too much power. Aren't you worried about it going to my head? Cove smirked, shaking his head.
It's okay.
Don't worry about it, I'm listening, so go ahead. His eyes met yours, holding your gaze. I believe in you, Yui. No matter how much time passed, there were some things that you could count on to be constant. Cove, your family, his family, and all your other loved ones being there for you when you needed it was one of those things, since the beginning and for always. Knowing that they were there, and you would never truly be alone, made the future look all that much brighter. Could we go to the Poppy Hill? Want to find somewhere private to make out? Do you want to keep walking to go through town? Or got something to eat? We should see who can reach the end of the street fastest. I just want to wait and see what happens. I'm just gonna. You were teasing him with that call, of course, but so much reminiscing about growing up had made you yearn for him. After all, Sunset Bird had given you Cove. You wanted to enjoy both of them together. Cove spluttered out a laugh. Yui! He covered his mouth with his hands, staring at you over them with wide eyes. So you don't want to? He slowly lowered his hands, his gaze flicking shyly between you and the ground. No, that'd be perfect. Your days growing up in Sunset Bird had been so wonderful. Even the prospect of leaving again made your chest ache. Yet you weren't going to let that stop you. It would be hard, but you knew that it would still be there, waiting whenever you wanted to return. Facing Cove, who'd been by your side through it all, you knew that one day you'd look back on those moments now just as you fondly reminisced about your childhood growing up here. Each happy moment you experienced became only a memory of what used to be, but that was what life was, and it was okay. And it was from the beginning and continuing that way for always. Life took another step forward. Thank you for beginning a life here. Aww. You can come back again always. Aww, thank you, game. The end. And it really is the end this time. Oh, okay. I thought we were gonna get credits, but I guess we already got credits. Okay. Well, we actually beat the game this time. Bruh, this game was absolutely gorgeous, and I loved it so much. It was such a fun game to play, and I love that the company put so much thought into it. And I look forward to playing their other game and more of their content in the future. Thank you again, guys, so much for joining me on this journey, and thank you for playing with me, and thank you for crying with me. This game was beautiful, and I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did.